Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another edition of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. This is officially the start of the regular season. My name is William Tiller. Here tonight, I am joined by Hunter Parsons, and Adam Fleeger is behind the decks here tonight. This is a special event for us here. This is the first race of the season. We've been through dual races. We've been through clash races. But tonight, Hunter, we officially kick things off here in this Fast Friday series.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's the first race of the season, the first official points race of the season. We've seen it all from Calamity at the Coliseum to the Tool Duel races last week, where we saw a lot of excitement, a lot of calmness. But now tonight we have 43 drivers scheduled to take the grid for the green flag.
Quite a grid indeed. 43 eager drivers ready to take on the high banks of Daytona here tonight. No better way to kick off a season than at Daytona. The dual races were a mix of two different races there, Hunter. Dual race number 2 was a lot more chaotic, a lot more crazy, a lot more frantic pace out of the gate. Whereas dual race number 1 was a lot more calm, cool, and collected. Do you think we're going to see a mix of both here tonight?
I think we will. It's a 100-lap race, so plenty of time to get to the front, put yourself in a position to potentially win. But you also have to take into effect that these guys aren't going to have a fast repair like they have in the duels at the Coliseum. So it's going to be a lot more strategizing with your teammates, trying to plan better, and trying to hopefully have a truck there at the finish.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite rules, that no fast repair. Here tonight, the drivers will be racing a total of 100 laps. Stage number 1 will be 25. Stage number 2 will be 50, and then we'll race it down for a final 50 to the 100 to make it 100. Drivers will have 3 sets of tires on their trucks here tonight with 100% fuel capacity. But Hunter, we've done qualifying, we've done dual races, but through all of that, we have 2 drivers that will start on the top row. That is Brandon Bullock and Chris Blanchard. Now, Chris won dual race number 2, didn't have to win that race, but went out and raced and won, put it all on the line in that number 9 machine. But I believe you're catching up with our pole sitter, Brandon Bullock.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him in here and if he's available. Brandon, it's Will and Hunter in the booth. Do you have us?
I do. How are you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Good.
Well, throughout qualifying and the duels, you managed to put yourself on the pole position for the opener, the Butt Kicker 200 at Daytona. What is it going to take to stay out of trouble and hopefully even have a truck left for the end of the race here?
A lot of luck.
So you don't have to give us any details, but what are you and your team planning to try to do to have that shot to be there at the end?
Really just kind of survive stage 1 and then kind of position ourselves in stage 2 as more of a strategic place.
For sure, and anything can happen at these super speedways. As well as everyone wants to go for the win, are you guys going to be looking to try and stay up front for those stage points? We know they're very crucial when it comes down to the playoff position. And so what are you guys going to be trying to attack and get as many points as possible, or just kind of let it happen as it goes on throughout the progression of the race to put yourself in a position to win rather than stage points?
I think we'll probably play it by how aggressive everybody's being. That usually seems to be the safest bet.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back with your team here before we set up the grid. So good luck, Brandon.
Thank you.
That was
the pole sitter. Sorry.
Yeah, that was our pole sitter there, Hunter. And, went into dual race number 1 as that pole sitter. Didn't do the best there. Unfortunately, got entangled in some craziness at the end, which opened the door for Jose Luis Rivera to win dual race number 1. But you're catching up with a man who qualified second in the qualifying runs and then went out and won his dual race. So really trying to make himself known here in this series. I think you're catching up with Chris Blanchard in that number 9.
Yeah, Chris. Will and Hunter, you got us?
I gotcha.
Perfect. Well, as we mentioned, you won your duel last week. You qualified for the front row before the duel even started. You had a rough going at the Coliseum, but you ended up winning duel 2 last week. So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Brandon. Like, what is it going to take for you to have your shot to be at the end to potentially even win this thing or even survive?
You're either going to want to stay up front all night, or you're going to ride in the back until the big one happens and then try not to get collected.
Yeah, and we know it's Daytona. Everyone has a fast truck. Everyone has the ability to run up front and be up there. At what point do you almost want to cut your losses of running up front to just hanging out in the back?
I'm gonna try to stay up front as long as I can. What I normally judge that by is if I'm leading the race and I get passed on the outside and somebody comes down in front of me, that's my cue to fall out and fall to the back. As soon as I get passed for the lead, when I'm doing official races and stuff like that, I will drop to the back. But
Okay.
if I'm up front and I'm leading the race, I'll stay there as long as I can.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you get back as your practice session is going to be ending up here in a little bit. So we'll let you get back with your team. And good luck, and we'll hopefully talk to you in a little bit.
Thank you. We'll see what we can do. We've had some computer issues tonight with this UI setup and messed everything up. I finally got that going, so I didn't get to do much practicing, but we'll see what we can do.
All right. Good luck, Chris.
Thank you.
Again, that was your outside front row leader, the 9 of Chris Blanchard. Well, Will, what are you kind of expecting out of this race as we go through the whole 100 laps, the stage racing, which we haven't had any stage racing yet?
No, we haven't had any stage racing, but I feel like these drivers are very experienced in what they can do. What I foresee happening here at Daytona with such a large field, now we mentioned at the start off this broadcast, we'll have 43 drivers that will take the drop of the green flag. What I foresee happening, Hunter, is almost what we saw in those dual races. Very chaotic pace, maybe to start out. Then as the race plays out, maybe things are going to hit a lull, very slow down pace. And then when we get to those last 50 laps or so, that's when we'll see that volume, that heat turn up.
For sure. And I run into the Xfinity Series on Thursday nights, and stage points can mean everything. You could have a bad finish but gain 2 stage wins, and that could be your extra 20 points, as it is 10 to win a stage. Those stage points are going to be very crucial almost every week. Towards that end of the stage, it's going to get hectic for sure to try and get that stage win. Stage win is for playoff points plus a little bit of money in their pockets.
Yeah, definitely. For everybody that's unfamiliar with how NASCAR puts on events, these drivers can take home some cold hard cash every race they come out. And even in the championship in our Monday night truck series, that payout pool is now up to $1,000. So whoever brings home that championship is going to bring home some fat stacks.
For sure. And another thing to keep in mind is you're going to, as many points as you want to get for yourself, you are racing with your team for a team championship, which Upfront Motorsports has won the last 2 seasons, I do believe. So they definitely have a strong team. They could definitely do it again, but there's a lot of talent in this field.
A lot of talent indeed. As we're watching practice wrapping up right now, looks like it has wrapped up. Everybody's getting ready for qualifying here tonight under the lights here at Daytona. What an awesome way to kick off the season. This is race number 1 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series here as we're watching qualifying about to take place here in just a little while. The surprise for me, Hunter, before we kick off the action here tonight, we talked to those front 2, top 2 row winners right there. We talked to Brandon Bullock in that 17. We talked to Chris Blanchard in that 9. But a name that really surprised me during these speed weeks was Jose Luis Rivera. Really put forth a great effort in dual race number 1, ended up winning dual race number 1, beat out some awesome names in that field. Really a name I think folks should watch out for here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. He is at these super speedways. He's always wanted to be up front. And as we talked to him last week in his interview after winning, he always wants to be up front. He doesn't want to ride around. He's out there to have fun. And at these super speedways, and Chris kind of mentioned it too, he wants to be up front. You want to control the field. You want to control the pace. So I'll definitely put some money on Jose trying to stay up front and control the field.
Yeah, about 20th fastest right now during this practice session. It looks like practice has officially wrapped up now, Hunter. We're going to take on qualifying here It looks like everything might be set, though, as we watch this session wrap up here. And I think the drivers might be ready. I think we might be ready as well. I think this field might be set for the official kicking off point of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, qualifying not going to happen tonight. These guys had qualifying a few weeks ago. Last week they ran their duels, and so that first duel is going to line up your inside row, and that second duel will line up your outside row. So Jose will be, as we mentioned, that front row is locked in before the duels. It didn't matter what took place for those drivers, but Jose will be rolling off from that second row inside, which is the best that he could possibly do right now.
Yeah, for sure, right there. But I think, as you mentioned, Hunter, it is time to go over the official starting grid here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. This is the Butt Kicker 200. As mentioned, Brandon Bullock will start in the pole position in the number 17. Chris Blanchard will roll off second in the number 9. Jose Luis Rivera, dual race number 1, and the number 20 will roll off third. Dana Shepard in the 45 will roll off fourth. Jonathan Pugh in that 19 will roll off 5th. Justin Lumpkin in that 18 will roll off 6th. Jeff Sickles in the 22 will roll off 7th. Michael McKinnon, great starting position for Michael right there, in the 8th position in the number 13. Number 9 will be Keith Bradley in the 29. 10th will be Clint Moda in that 7.
Inside row number 6 will be the 48 of Robbie Richards. To his outside, Ed Osborne. That next row will be the 99 of Devin Painter and Raul Meza to his outside. Next row will be the 30 of Ron Hunter, and to his outside, our friend to the north, the number 3 of Chris Cinnamon. Next row will be the 53 of CJ Fonda, and to his outside, the number 81 Taylor Peacock. Next row, we got the 11 of Kilgore, and to his outside, the 93 of Zach Hartwick. Next row, looking back. Go ahead.
Yep,
take
rolling off in 21st will be Kyle Hess in the 86. 22nd will be Dane Hagan in the 39. 23rd would be Nate Maurer in the 971. Watch out for that name here tonight. A very hot driver in our Monday night series here at Nazareth. 24th will be Bill Hales in that 25. 25th will be Jonathan Munda in the 15. 26th will be Jason Stevenson in the 93. 27th, Joe Juichet in that 16. 28th will be James Morris in the 96. 29th will be Stephen Thomas in the 23. And 30th will be Johnny Lawrence in the 77.
Rolling off in the 39 spot will be the 87 of Keith Haney, and to his outside, the number 97 of Stephen Leak. Next row will be the 94 of Eric Zimmerman, and I believe that will round out our field. We do have the 51 of Brian Chu rolling out in that final spot.
It's like we have about 35 drivers here tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do believe so. As the green flag is high, we have the Butt Kicker 200, the season opener of Nazareth, underway.
That green flag is in the air. The season has officially begun. We have kicked things off here at Daytona. No more dual racing, no more clash racing. Everything counts here tonight as we're full speed ahead down to quarter number 1.
Brandon Bullock in that 17 gonna get the early jump. The number 9 of Chris Blanchard and the 45 of Dana Shepard will get that outside row moving, as we have some people dropping below that yellow line. Not confident starting up front. Probably just gonna drop to the tail end or in the middle somewhere and ride it out for a little bit, Will.
Yeah, that's a very strategic move. Sometimes you feel that line, you feel that draft there on the inside. You're not liking where it's going, you're not liking the way it's moving your truck, you just slowly pull out a line. And in some instances, you get right back in the line, you move right through the field. So, see what happens to those two drivers, as officially lap 1 is in the books. Brandon Bullock will lead the first lap down to corner number 1 as our race leader.
As mentioned, Brandon Bullock to that inside, but that outside row is starting to form up just a little bit. They're going to have 4 trucks out on the top side with the 9 of Chris Blanchard leading them headway as they get a little bit of a run down the backstretch. That 9 will inch out in front of the 17.
Yeah, Chris Blanchard will now be our race leader down into 3, now going to slide to the inside lane. As you see, the top side's trying to build up a little bit right now. That is led by Jose. I know, that's Dana Shepard in the 45 now leading the top side lane here on the apex of 3 and 4. We are side by side for the race lead down the front stretch.
Yeah, that top lane kind of dissipated a little bit once Chris went down, but they're still holding up some nice momentum to keep even with the race leader of Blanchard. And as we mentioned, Will, earlier, 100% fuel, a little bit more fuel than they had in their duels, so they can stretch it about 30 to 35 laps. So no fuel strategy really coming into play these first two stages.
Yeah, well, I think the trickiness of that fuel window here, as we're still side by side down the backstretch down to corner number 3, I think the trickiness is that that fuel window is going to come right in the middle of stage 1 and 2. So these drivers really have to make that decision. Do we pit at the end of stage 1? Do we press the envelope to the green flag run during stage number, or in between 1 and 2? Do we try to push it to stage number 2 where the caution flag comes out at 50? It's a very tricky situation for these drivers here tonight.
For sure. I think it all depends on the position you're at right now in your race. If towards the end of stage 1, if you're in the back, maybe you take you go in, take your fuel, and come back out and inherit the lead for stage 2. But if you're in front, you want to stay out there. You want those playoff points. You want that stage win money. Every spot is going to matter when it comes to those playoff points, as only the top 10 in each stage receive those playoff points.
Yeah, top 10 is where you want to be at a race at Daytona, as we're still side by side to the apex of 3 and 4 right now. We are lap 4 right now. No change. We are wrecking. Caution is out. First caution of the night's not going to happen on the apex of 3 and 4. Leaders are okay. Looks like it happened on the tail end of that pack, Hunter.
Yeah, I believe I saw a red truck. I believe it was a 77 of Lawrence get pushed out 3 wide and make contact with the wall. We'll get you a replay here.
I believe it may have happened a little bit further back in the field.
Yeah, I'm
just
not
to
quite
see
sure
where that occurred. But first caution of the night here on lap number 4 happens early for us here at Daytona.
Yeah, and just confirmation, it is the 77 of Johnny Lawrence will be involved in that.
Get that replay revved up for you here in the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. As mentioned, this is race number 1 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. We had speed weeks. We had 2 weeks here at Daytona. We had a clash at the Coliseum, Hunter, which was more of a fun race, if you will. A caution flew every couple of laps here, as we're going to watch. We're now back live on the racetrack here, but you are right, though. The 77 of Johnny Lawrence looked to have been the driver involved in that caution flag here. Caution flies here on lap number 4 as we head down the backstretch now under caution.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Johnny, it looks like he's a little bit underpowered and no fast pair tonight. His race could be over. As you see the replay right now, they are 3 wide going into turn 3. Just gets a little bit high and makes contact with the wall. Not sure if he comes back down into traffic, as he does make contact with, I'm not quite sure who that is.
It's like the 93's involved. The 3 right there is Cinnamon.
Yeah. We have Joey Doucette.
Yep, makes contact with the 77 there.
Very unfortunate. And I know Joey's struggling a little bit tonight. He suffered an injury on his foot today, so he's certainly not feeling it. But just unfortunate for him right there.
Yeah, very unfortunate indeed. But for the 77 of Johnny Lawrence there, just didn't look comfortable there on the top side. You saw him there down the backstretch on the top side. On the entry of the corner, was still starting to fight that position. Didn't like where he was at on the racetrack. And sometimes in that circumstance, Hunter, you get a little uncomfortable. You start getting a little happy on the wheel, trying to move position, trying to get down. In that instance, he just barely scraped that top side wall and then sent that car sideways.
Yeah, and once you get off or get on that wall, you are going so fast. And by the time you even try to get off the wall, there's all these cars coming by in. Unfortunate for him, he just got off the wall too quick, and it just hooked him, and cars behind him had nowhere to go for sure.
Now, does this throw a wrench in the pit strategy? I know it's very early to be talking about pitting here in stage number 1. Stage number 1 will be 25 laps for the folks at home who are just joining us here at the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. But with this caution flag flowing here in the first 25 laps, does that sort of change that calculation at all?
No, it's certainly way too early. Either way, you can only go that 30 laps. So if we had a caution on lap 4, you pit now, you're only going to be able to go to lap 34, 38 or so. So you're still not going to have enough to finish that second stage. Had this been another 15 laps later, Possibly. But either way, right now, it's not going to matter for this first stage. So to pit, it may be just a safe call if you're up front, not liking what you're seeing, give you a chance to go to the back of the pack and live to see another lap.
Yeah, as we're now 2x2 here, it looks like we're going to go back to green flag racing here in just a second as the pace car is leading us around here, our first caution of the night here. And we sort of saw this pace, Hunter, in dual race number 1, where it was very calm. We had maybe 1 or 2 cautions to start that race out, and then the pace just stuck to a very consistent drafting 2x2, not a lot of aggressive driving. Whereas, dual race number 2 was very crazy, 3-wide racing throughout.
Yeah, and for sure. And right now, people are still learning how each other drives. A lot of people not everyone was in the clash. Not everyone got to race each other in the duels. So for some drivers, this is their first time being able to race with everyone. So maybe a little bit of miscommunication in that first wreck there, but a lot of people still learning how each other drives and learning their styles. And I think you'll see a lot of that change throughout this race.
Yeah, as Chris Blanchard and that 9 machine will start on the inside right now. Has Dana Shepard on the outside here as the pace car is going to pull off here momentarily as we come off of corner number 4, just awaiting the official pace car to pull off the grid. And it does just that as we come to the tri-oval here at Daytona. Barney is ready with the green flag. So are we up here in the booth. Chris Blanchard will take the green flag as things are on and rocking once again down to corner number 1.
Chris Blanchard getting a little bit of a jump on the 45 of Dana Shepard with Brandon Bullock at his tailgate. A lot of side-by-side racing right now. People figuring out where they want to go, when they want to push the issue. Ooh, Clint Mata gets a little bit shaky behind your 45 of Dana Shepard, but no harm, no foul. They will race on down the backstretch 2x2, almost 10 rows deep.
Yeah, 2x2, 10 rows deep. Exactly what Hunter said down in the corner number 3 right now. Chris Blanchard, Dana Shepard are side by side here around the corner. The apex of 3 and 4 right now as Mata does not look comfortable on that top side. Keeps coming very low, almost touching Bullock on that low side of the racetrack. Now the 7 of Mata is trying to get past. Dana Shepard just revved right up to that back bumper as we cross the line. 8 laps in the books. Number 9 down to corner number 1.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Mata kind of coming down, doing that little bit of side draft. That side draft in these trucks can be a very big thing. You notice it a lot, but it's almost a little way too early to be doing that. You don't want to end up costing your race or someone else's race this early on in the 100 lapper here.
But very calm right now down the backstretch. Every driver, as you mentioned, Hunter, is just trying to get comfortable, trying to get to know one another. Not all these drivers have raced together. Nazar puts on a lot of leagues, a lot of series. Some of these drivers are very new. Some of these drivers, it's the only night that they can race. So for a lot of these drivers here tonight, it's going to be a filling out process, knowing what you can do, how to draft one another. As Chris Blanchard will take us across the line, lap number 9 is done. 10 right into corner number 1.
Yeah, just 15 laps to go in this stage, and we already got some hard movers coming through the field. Clint Mata, one of those guys we talked about, started 10th, already up to 3rd. Ed Osborne, as you are riding on board with right now, started back in the 12th, already up to the 5th spot. Taylor Peacock, all the way from 18th, already up to 7th. So some of these drivers wasting absolutely no time trying to get to the front already.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to try to get inside the top 15, top 10 here at the end of the stage. Number 1, you don't want to let things get away from you here. If you start dangling in that last half of the field, talking about places about 15 down to 25, you can get lost in translation, if you will, Hunter. Something can happen. The yellow flag can come out as Chris Blanchard will take us across the line. Once again, lap number 12 down to corner number 1 here. If you get caught up in those positions, you're more prone to that caution flag flying out. You're more prone to having your night ended early. You want to try to make your way up to the grid so you're good the rest of the way.
For sure, and a lot of the drivers got to keep in mind, it's not about this one race. You got to almost plan your season out. Give up those few spots, be patient, and at the end of the season, hopefully all that consistency can be put together as one for one big championship run.
Yeah, as we come to the apex of 3 and 4 here on lap number 11, still Chris Blanchard leading the way. Dana Shepard on the outside row, trying to keep momentum on that top side. Looks like they're faltering just a little bit on that top side as we come across the front stretch once again. Lap number 11 is all but done. 12 now right into corner number 1. And the thing that I like to look out for, Hunter, is as we watch them take this corner here, is the drivers. I always love to mention this. Drivers that are qualified maybe 15 to about 30. I would say that's my marker there. 15 to 30. There's always going to be at least 2 or 3 drivers at the end of this race that qualified in that gap that will be pressing or putting some pressure on the leaders. Whether they put pressure on the leader or not, how this race plays out, always look for them to finish inside the top 5, top 10. It's always those drivers that maybe are not very good when there's other trucks on the track, but once you throw some other trucks in the mix, that's when that speed comes out of their race cars.
For sure, and as we mentioned last week, the duels kind of set up the grid. So you could have had drivers running second, third to the finish in our duel, as we did in duel number 2, and there was a big wreck. So some of those drivers that were running second or third ended up finishing 16th, 17th, and that forced them to start 30th or 30th. It's somewhere back in the field. So those drivers didn't want to be back there. That's why they are trying to race their way to the front quick and in a hurry.
Watch, still 2 by 2 down the backstretch right now. Lap 13 right now. We have just about 12 laps to go here in this stage. You know, you mentioned a good thing there, Hunter, with the dual racing. Could have been tagged up. You could have had a bad qualifying run, then get tagged up in the duel, and you're a very fast truck out there. You know, looking at positions, you know, past 15 on down, we have Chris Cinnamon, as you mentioned, who suffered some damage early. You look at Bill Hales down there. Look at Dan Hagan down there. Nate Maurer in the 971s down there as well. Joey Duchette right there. And that 16 is some of these names. Johnny Lawrence, we actually saw him get tangled up early. But a lot of big names that are going to start outside of the top 15 that could really put some pressure on Chris Blanchard now, our race leader.
Yeah, for sure. And as you mentioned, Cinnamon and Lawrence, Doucette, unfortunately, all those drivers are already out of the race and out of contention for this one tonight with that first caution. So it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the season. It's very early on. Those guys are fast. They'll be back up front next week, and they'll be ones to watch all season.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned a good name there. Taylor Peacock there started 18th. He's running up there. You look at Hartwick up there as well. He started 20th. He's now just outside the top 10. So a lot of these names, you know, you put a good point on that with the dual races. Maybe some of the best drivers out there, but because of the dual races and the qualifying session, not going to start very good here tonight, but that doesn't mean they don't have a great truck.
No, and it's 100 laps. Anything could happen. Plenty of time. You can still be running 30th right now and still have the truck to win later on tonight.
Yeah, as we're down the backstretch right now, still 2 by 2 down in corner number 3. Lap 15 right now, no change at the top of the grid right now. Chris Blanchard still our race leader, that inside lane. And from what I'm seeing so far as we come across the apex of 3 and 4, that inside lane just seems to have that slightest edge here on the exit of 4.
For sure, and Brandon Bullock is doing a great job pushing the 9 of Blanchard when he needs to be. The outside row, they're keeping their distance, which is totally fine right now. There's no need to push and urge your way to the front right now. You still got almost 10 laps now to the end of the stage. Once you start seeing that 5 or 6 laps, they might just start putting a harder charge to get around that race leader of Blanchard for that stage win.
Yeah, right now, as it looks like we have a slow truck on the track, Hunter. I can't tell who that is.
That was the 16 of Joey Doucette from earlier on in that wreck, just making some laps right now.
Yeah, and you got to tip your cap to him here. As you mentioned, it's a 100-lap race here tonight, so a very long race. Maybe Joey has that mentality if he can get the truck back out there, maybe scrape something out of this race here tonight. As you mentioned, a very long season, so all these points you can accumulate will come in handy towards the end of the season. But right now, Chris Blanchard is now inching away almost a full truck length in the lead. As we come around the corner, he is now starting to separate from even Brandon Bullock there on the low side. A little bit of gap between first and second now.
Yeah, it's certainly good for him, but you don't want to get too far of a gap. As you see right now, he has to suck back to that 17 of Bullock, but that allows Shepard and Mata and Richards to all get that little bit more momentum to edge back forward. So you got to be careful if you're the 9 of Blanchard right now. You don't want to get too far out and kind of hurt yourself.
Yeah, no change here in the top driver. Still Dana Shepard on the top side. Has Mata right behind him. Brandon Bullock there behind our race leader of Chris Blanchard in that 9 machine. Right now, still 2x2 across the line. 17 is done. 18 down to corner number 1. Chris Blanchard, our race leader.
As you mentioned, 2x2. No one really in a hurry right now. I think a lot of these drivers know what's at stake. That they want to have a truck for the end. Doesn't hurt to go out and try and put yourself at a risk, as you will, for this stage win.
No, not at all. And you look at Taylor Peacock, that's a name that you mentioned, now up to the 7th position on the racetrack. One of our biggest movers right now. Looks like he's up about 21 positions from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and another driver that caught my eye early on there was that 97 of Stephen Lee. He was up front there. He started 40th. He was up to about 8th or 9th. And I'm not sure what happened, but he is in the second pack behind your leaders. So not sure if there was a little bit of a checkup that we may have missed.
As we're watching here on lap number 19, we're going to have about 6 laps to go in stage number 1. Stephen Like right there. You mentioned that they're just trying to hold on to his truck, now down to about the 27th position. It's going to increase his position right there in the the 97 with a big run to get up through the field. Now starting to slide just a little bit through the grid as well. No change. Brandon Bullock and Dana Shepard, though, keep going 1-2 up here at the top of the grid. This is a battle for a second as Chris Blanchard still our clear race leader here across the line. 19 is done, 20 down to corner number 1.
Yeah, and as we talked to Chris Blanchard early on, he said he wanted to lead this thing. Well, right now, Will, I think he led all but 1 lap, so he's certainly doing what he expected and wanted to do tonight.
Yeah, he's racing the race that he wants to race. And I thought, watching dual race number 2, how he started on the top position in that race, did everything he had to do. There was a pit stop in that dual race. You get that pit stop out of the way. You strategize just right. It was a crazy pace there in dual race number 2. A lot of 3 wide. A lot of things that could have shook Chris off of that winning mentality, if you will. That didn't shake him at all. Went out there and won dual race number 2. Now here tonight looks like the clear best truck out here, but still that top side lane is still putting a little bit more pressure on him, as it looks like we had a photo finish there to the line. Not sure if Dana Shepard may have snagged a lap from Chris there at the start-finish line.
He did by just 0.03 of a second. And Will, this is kind of going back to what I said about a couple minutes ago. Now we're at that 5 laps to go in the stage. Now I think you're going to start to see some guys that they want to get up front. They want the stage win.
Ooh.
And this could either end up well, where we're not going to have a caution or a wreck. As I see, we are going 3 wide in the middle of the field somewhere. But this could either end one of 2 ways. It could be just fine, and everyone has a little bit of respect for the car that they're racing with, or it's just going to be complete chaos as we come to the finish of the stage.
As it looks like Raul Meza, who was the topside car in that 3 wide that you were mentioning there, Connor, had to run up to a lap car there. Essentially, Raul had to hit the brakes. He's going to lose a ton of positions there for having to check up for that lap car on the top side.
Yeah, they were coming up on the 16 of Joey Doucette again. Joey Doucette might not be making their minimum speed requirement, is what I'm hearing from race control. For those of you that don't know, NASCAR last season or 2 seasons ago, they put in a minimum speed rule. If your truck's damaged, they don't want you to be almost a blockade for the rest of the racers. So they take your qualifying time and multiply it by, I believe, 1.5, and you have to meet that lap time requirement at least once every 5 laps to be eligible to stay on the racetrack.
Yeah, Chris Blanchard is maintaining that minimum speed and more. Our race leader across the line down to corner number 1, still leading the way. Essentially has led every lap of this race so far here tonight. Brandon Bullock started on the pole. That did not last long as Chris Blanchard took that top spot away from him. Now our race leader throughout as we come off of 2 down the backstretch right now. He's leading a long trail on the inside lane. Looks like we have 3 trucks trying to build up something there on the backstretch.
For sure, and as we are coming to, I believe, 2 to go in this stage this time by, I'd be eager to see if Bullock pushes that 9 of Blanchard out a little bit and potentially even hop up in front of Shepard to control that top lane. That would definitely stall that inside row out a little bit while giving Bullock the chance to win the stage.
Yeah, right now he's going to ride on board with Chris Blanchard inside that 9 machine. Really nothing he has to worry about up there, Hunter. That's the best view a driver can have. Clear skies, clear lanes in front of you. You can really pick anything you want to do on the racetrack right now. Put your tires anywhere, you can put your hands anywhere. You are clear and sailing in the lead as we're coming up on some lapped cars here down the backstretch. See if this affects the finish here in stage number 1.
For sure, and I do believe that Chris Blanchard would be looking more in his rear view mirror than his front windshield right now. You're watching to see where that run is coming from, if that guy behind you is going to ditch you or not. So I wouldn't be surprised he's looking behind him more than in front of him.
Yeah, as you see right here on the apex of 3 and 4, Chris Blanchard will lead that inside lane off of the corner. As you see, a huge run from the top side, though. Dana Shepard might steal another lap from him here at the line. No, Chris Blanchard will take that white flag. 1 to go here in stage number 1 as Chris Blanchard, our race leader, will lead Brandon Bullock on the inside lane down to corner number 1.
They are catching up on that lap traffic that we mentioned earlier, but I don't know if they're going to get to them by the end of this stage. They do have 3 trucks in their pack. That is enough to stay up front just enough. So we'll see if these leaders can put them a lap down before the end of the stage.
Yes, Chris Blanchard will take us down the backstretch here. So if anybody wants to snag this stage win from what's been a very dominant run here in stage number 1, the first 25 has definitely belonged to Chris Blanchard in that 9 machine. As now we're coming up on those 3 lap trucks right now. See if we can keep it clean here at the line. Very clean as Chris Blanchard will take stage number 1 here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series race number 1 from Daytona.
Very good stage by everyone there. No one really was pushing anything too crazy, putting anyone at risk or any harm. Very good job by everyone, especially in that front group, coming 3 wide with lap cars to that stage finish.
And that brings a conclusion to stage number 1. We'll step aside for our first break of the evening here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. We'll see if we can't catch up with stage number 1 winner Chris Blanchard when we come back in just a moment. Alrighty, race fans, we are back here live on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network from Daytona. We just watched the conclusion of stage number 1. That was won by Chris Blanchard in that 9 machine. I believe, Hunter, you're catching up with our stage number 1 winner.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him in here. Chris, it's Hunter and Will in the booth. You got us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you loud and clear. Oh boy, it seems like we're having a little bit of connection issues with that 9. Let's see if we can get him one more time before we get back green. Chris Blanchard, you got us? All right, well, unfortunately, I don't believe we're going to get the number 9 of Chris Blanchard at this time, who was your Stage 1 winner.
Yeah, still a pretty great stage win from that 9 machine. Probably just in the midst of dominating there that he doesn't have time for us up here in the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. Only kidding, though, that 9 machine was very dominant there in stage number 1. But I'd like to bring in a special guest for the evening here tonight, a new commentator here at the NASCAR 360 Racing Network, Wesley Outland. And Wesley, thank you for joining us here tonight.
Hey, man, it's always great to work with the guys at NASRA. It's amazing what the North American Sim Racing Association has done since 2020. You know, I had a hand in it when it first started back during the pandemic, but what Brady LaBeouf and the powers that be have done with keeping this program, the sanctioning body for sim racing going on iRacing, is astronomical. And, yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here tonight at Daytona. And, again, pretty comfortable stage 1. Blanchard had such a strong truck, but I think the fireworks are going to fly here as we close into the final 75 laps of this race.
Yeah, we love fireworks here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. And Wesley, as we creep up in corner number 3 here to the apex, what do you see happening here in stage number 2?
Man, you know, it's like I said, it's kind of been a quiet race for the time being. I mean, you've seen Blanchard just really have a strong truck there. You see the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania driver from the land of Lincoln, of course, of Jimmy Amos, or the Keystone State, actually. But, you know, after the cycle of the pit stops, it's going to be interesting to see how things go for this restart. But, again, as I said, you got some big, heavy hitters and contenders in the top 15, top 20 for that matter. And, again, we got to wait, guys, Hunter and Will, for the big one. I think that'll be coming here very soon as well as we get ready for the restart.
As Barney is ready with that green flag, he is waving it ferociously as we are down in corner number 1 with a new race leader. Jimmy Emos is leading the way down to corner number 1.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about him at all this race or even throughout the duels or the Clash of the Coliseum, as we have cars wrecking right now going into turn 1. Everyone, cars.
Well, I told you guys I had a feeling it was going to go down that way, and here you go. I mean, I guess Wesley shows up and all hell breaks loose. So it's on the restart in second, turn 1.
That is a definition of racer's curse if I've ever seen it.
As we check out this replay here in the NASCAR 360 Racing Network, that was on the entry of corner number 1 here on the restart, or the kicking off of stage number 2. Well, watch it right there, guys. It looks like that truck on the top side. It's hard to see right now with this over. It looks going to collect Mata in that 7. Mata, see if he escapes with no damage. It just looks like somebody just gets loose on the top side.
It looks like the 7 got loose, guys, and then all of a sudden with Dana Shepard nowhere to go, then he got collected right in the middle of the pack, and he starts going northbound in a southbound lane, and then all of a sudden the other Toyota 15 piles in there, the 30 nowhere to go, and you got trucks trying to go, you know, you start bobbing and weaving inside, outside, trying to miss the chaos, and of course we see what happened to the Vermont driver, Dana Shepard, and I think we're going to look at it one more time on a replay and watch this, how this unfolds here. But again, I'm kind of new to this series. Hunter and Will, do they get a fast repair? Do they at least get one fast repair in this race?
No fast repairs.
Oh boy, that's even worse. Hey, here's a replay. Look at it again. As you see Shepard just fighting the truck, and you already saw the 7 below the apron, and that's where it all started after the contact. And then everybody else, as I said, guys, is just quickly trying to get on the binders to check and miss him there, and he got turned, and then there you go.
Looking at the 81, he did a very good job maneuvering through that, as he just missed the bumper of that 45 of Dana Shepard. So very good maneuvering there by the 81.
And from what I took there, you look at Mata right there in that 7. You also look at Dana Shepard in that 45. 2 drivers that were top 5 trucks in stage number 1 now have significant damage, especially Dana Shepard in that 45. This might cost them the night from what was looking like a very promising run here at Daytona.
Yeah, I saw a lot of drivers that are typically up front here at these super speedways. We saw the 30 of Ron Hunter, the 48 of Robbie Richards, the 7 of Mata, the Shepard, as we mentioned. A lot of heavy hitters taken out of this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a race of nutrition here at Daytona, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're
I
just
think
in the
that's-
early going events, guys. I mean, we're only starting stage number 2, and what is there, another stage, and then we go to the final 50 laps, I think, to the finish of the race. So this is stage 2 right now.
Yes, sir. Yep.
This stage will end on the completion of lap 50, starting of 51. Otherwise, if we get a caution, typically 4 or 5 laps before that stage break that would end the stage.
And this is what we were kind of thinking about, Hunter, as we kicked off the broadcast here in the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. Is in this stage, will we see those pit stops take place? I know we saw a little bit of pit, calculations happening in stage number 1, but now in stage number 2, you have this caution now into play. We're going to run it down to lap 50. 51 will officially be the conclusion of stage number 2. Do you start to think about pit stops now we have this yellow flag out?
I think at this point, you got to look at if you have teammates first, because we saw a lot of drivers get taken out already. You're going to need a couple of trucks to be committed and go with you, as we see like the 81 and the 9. Those 2 drivers are up front, but those 2 are teammates. Not enough to pit early and stay on the lead lap. So it's a gamble almost. You can pit, yes, you won't go a lap down, but if you have the help, it's certainly possible to do. However, you're going to want to pit a little bit later in the stage before that stage end, just to make sure you can go longer in that 3rd and final stage before you have to pit, while still being able to make it to the finish of the race without having to pit an extra time.
And by the way, guys, I saw a chat box. Somebody said, how in the world did Jimmy Enos go to the lead? I think Enos did not pit when everyone else did, and he took advantage of that. So to the victor goes the spoils. And, of course, he was in the right place at the right time right now in that Chevrolet number 85 machine as the lights are going to go off on the pace truck. We settle in for the restart with Emos and Blanchard right there, stage 1 winner, side by side as we get ready to bring them down the super stretch to ready for the restart here, Hunter. Hunter, Wheel, whoever.
Yeah, and Emo's not pitting early. It's kind of a gamble for him to continue to stay out here without pitting, unless he did pit earlier in that first stage and we just happened to miss it.
Yeah, right now, still staying with those leaders at the top. It was only about a lap in. He was still sticking with them, but now we have this caution flag out. It's going to put a little bit more wear underneath this caution. These drivers behind him have a little bit more time to build up the heat on those tires. As we're now to the exit of 4, we're just awaiting the pace truck to pull off. Here we'll get things on and rocking once again here from Daytona. This is race number 1 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series here in the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. We had dual races, we had clash races, but here tonight, this season officially begins as Jimmy Emos will take us to the start-finish line and take that green flag down to corner number 1.
85 is going to get a great restart with your dual race number 1 winner, Jose Luis Rivera, giving him a push out front. They are separating themselves from the field. That outside row will stay strong with the number 9 of Chris Blanchard and his teammate, 81 of Taylor Peacock. So a couple of upfront motorsports drivers trying to put themselves out front in this one.
And, you got to remember, as they work their way to the back straightaway, they've got to come to about a lap and a half before they get back to full song, to full power. As right now we watch this battle continuing up at the top, going down into the 3rd turn. Here comes the field down into the turn 3. Top 2 now pull away by single file. Behind them, though, Wheel, it is 2 by 2 by 2 like Noah leading the animals to the arc off the virtual 4.
They made quick work of Jimmy Emos there. Now he's trying to hold on like the Alabama Shakes right there on the inside lane as Chris Blanchard will take us across the start-finish line down to corner number 1. Now back to our race leader at the top of the grid.
For those of you that may have missed the pre-race interview, that 9 of Chris Blanchard, he was very confident in his ability here tonight. He told us he wanted to be up front. He will do anything to stay up front, and he does not want to give away that race lead.
And you got to remember, Elvis, as we see now, Jimmy Emos falling back outside the top 10, guys. He's in 6th position. This is what happens when you got fresher tires, you got a new pit report here, and you're falling back with somebody like him that did not pit at the end of stage 1. Right now, he's just kind of free-falling, but right now, Will, he is just trying to hold on to stay in that draft of the top 10 as they work off 4.
Yeah, and poor Jose Luis Rivera is right there behind Jimmy Emos. He is stuck behind a driver that refuses to turn right on red. He is trying to find a way around Jimmy there. He might have to link up with that topside lane, and he does just that. As you see Jose pulling out to the top side, trying to find his train around this track. As we dig around the corner, still Chris Blanchard, our race leader.
Yeah, that top side is really starting to form up, Will and Wes. That they got 5 or 6 trucks and more coming. That bottom row, 4 trucks may just not be enough to keep pace.
I don't know, guys. Here comes Michael McKinnon, though. He's not done yet. His 13 will power down to the inside. Clears by Blanchard's truck as now Clinkhart up the racetrack. So will be Peacock as they work off the corner. The gold and white number 13. Michael McKinnon leads the cavalry now to the line. He's the new leader at Daytona on lap number 35.
Yeah, Michael McKinnon has been itching to get inside the truck. Sometimes he announces with us up here in the booth. Now tonight puts the helmet on, puts the gloves on, gets the truck going, and now he is the leader here at Daytona around 1 and 2 down the backstretch.
Interesting fact about McKinnon, last week in dual race number 2, he took the white flag in 10th position, and he ended up finishing, I believe, 3rd or 4th, just by virtue of that big wreck happening, Will.
But here comes Clinkhart, though, battling back up on the outside, guys. Raul Meza will follow with him and play wingman along with Trey Pitts. You've got 4 trucks stacked up on the outside lane, 3 trucks on the bottom, and McKinnon will not back down. They go off of turn 4, roaring to the stripe. Clinkhart will now be scored the new leader at the line.
Yeah, side by side down to corner number 1. We are side by side for first, for second, for third. Right now, digging down to corner number 1, we have a clear battle right there. But I am surprised at the 37 of Raul Meza. We talked about him to kick off this broadcast here tonight. He's going to shine like a diamond here right now inside the top 3, trying to increase his position following Michael McKinnon on the top side.
Yeah, and an unfortunate event for him last week in the dual race. Running up front, got taken out, had to start 14th, wasted a little bit of no time to get to that top 3 spot where he mentioned earlier on he loves to be up front. He's all about having fun.
Yeah, right now he works off the corner, and now we'll see what Raul Meza can do as he currently is outside the top 5. He's got Emos on the outside to the inside. Meza's now truck the Serve Pro entry. Now Powers on the outside. He tries to go to 3rd. McKinnon is under attack on the bottom, and Blanchard, the stage 1 winner now. Will Powers back to the lead in turn 1.
And that was silky smooth like a pair of satin sheets right there. Chris Blanchard went from the inside, outside, got that little bit of push that he needed, and then slid that 9 truck back to the inside. We have a truck against the wall on the backstretch right now. Doesn't seem to be anything crazy right now as everybody's going to avoid that little miss incident on the top side wall.
Yeah, I believe that was the 20 of Jose Rivera doing a little bit of pushing in the corners and just got that 27 of Trey Pitts all sorts of out of shape down that backstretch. Luckily, everyone was able to avoid it, and we will race on as their front group is starting to break away from the pack a little bit.
Boy, what a save that was for those drivers, as right now we see this 20 machine hanging comfortably right now in his position on the racetrack, right there with the pack inside the top 10. Meza, McKinnon, all in front of him as they work their way back to the back stretch. And again, guys, we're working up on 10 laps to the halfway marker, as well as the end of stage number 2. And it's Jacob Clinkhart now showing his momentum working, Will, on the top side as they go to turn 3.
Yeah, Clinkhart with a big push from Raul Meza in that 37 machine. They're trying to keep strong, trying to hold it together on the top side. Chris Blanchard said, it's okay, I don't need a pusher as Michael McKinnon's behind him. There's a little bit of gap. Chris Blanchard still holding pace with the top side. As you see the top side now a lot more cohesive, a lot more built together like a Lego set. Down the front stretch, Clinkhart will lead this lap down to corner number 1.
As we mentioned earlier, Wes and Will, that 97 of Stephen Lee, he was your driver who started 40th on the grid, almost last, currently running in that 4th spot. So a very good run so far by the 97 of Stephen Lee.
And right now, Clinkhart, the strong truck of that Chevrolet number 5. Raul Meza, Serve Pro machine, down to the inside. He's got a wingman in Blanchard from stage 1. Light Emos, the top 5, as we mentioned, outside with McKinnon, Kilgore, Peacock, Pugh, Rivera. It sounds like a law firm, but that's the top 10 as it stands in turn 3.
as Clinkart is holding it down at the top of the grid right now. Around the apex of 3 and 4, I got one better for you. Hunter Clinkart started in the 36th position. Now our race leader. Down the front stretch, going to take the 1 to go in stage number 2. Oh, 9 to go.
9 to go, actually. They got 10 remaining here, guys, as they go back into the corner. It's all the way to lap number 50. But the way they're going, Will, this race is flying by in stage 2, hands down.
Yeah. The excitement, everything got to me there in the moment. I got so locked in what we're seeing here at Daytona. As Clinkart will take us off at 2 down the backstretch.
And now, Will and Wes, as we mentioned earlier, that fuel strategy, if you could get a couple drivers to go down now, you might be able to pit now and then pit again. It'll be about lap 75, 76, and then you're good to the finish. You'll have 24 to go. You have plenty of fuel. So I'm curious to see if we'll have any of those takers play that strategy in their favor.
Yeah, as you see, Jimmy Emos has to head down pit road there, was trying to find his way out. Now he can't. He didn't get the pit road soon enough. He is now down on the apron, on the front stretch. See if Jimmy Emos has enough to get around the track now. Really struggling to get that 85 around.
Yeah, the race continues on here in the Butt Kicker 250. Believe it or not, we're closing in on 125 miles of this race. And all the while, Light now battles back up on the outside. Stephen Light will go to the lead. Clinkart now goes to the inside. He's got Peacock and Meza Rivera. Top 5 go to 3.
Yeah, as we go to the entry of 3 right now to the apex of 3 and 4, Raul Meza is trying to move around Clinkart. Clinkart, though, still leading the way. As you see, Light on the outside, though, is going to get a big push down the front stretch right now. See if Light can get this lap in the book. And he will do just that, as Stephen Light will take us down to corner number 1 as our race leader.
From worst to first on lap 43 to 97. He's got to be one to watch here towards the end of this race.
And we watch them now climb the banking out of turn number 2, getting their way to head to the super stretch down the back straightaway. It's now going to be the machine of Raul Meza. We'll watch him try to get around Clinkart. They're battled 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 at full song down into the 3rd turn. Light now up on the outside. Here comes now Clinkart. He wants to try to come back and make a run for stage number 2. By the way, stage 1 winner, Will Blanchard back to 5th. He better move.
Yeah, he is moving right there in the 9 machine. A lot of surprise names at the top of the grid right now as 43 is done. 44 down in corner number 1 right now. A lot of surprise names for me, 100 names that we wouldn't have thought would be racing strong here tonight. But as mentioned in this broadcast here tonight, dual 1 and 2 clash race, we can throw that out the window. That was at the Coliseum, but those dual races here at Daytona may have overshadowed some talent we had in those fields.
For sure, all depending on where they finished last week, where they made it, where they started tonight. So a lot of drivers had some bad luck or just didn't race last week, saving it for tonight. And Clinkart and we certainly one of those or 2 of those drivers that are proving everyone tonight that you don't need to start up front to be up front.
Man,
yeah,
what a drive. I'm telling you guys, watch Light, though. But you got to wonder, though, Will, as we get to the end of stage number 2, who is going to go out of line? And you're wondering who your allies are going to be. Will your allies become your enemies? Will you start making new allies if you're not friends with them somehow, some way? That will happen again aggressively in stage 2. But when we go to the finish for the checkers, all bets are off for the win.
Are you going to be like Paul Newman in Toy Story and say, you got a friend in me? We will see here in stage number 2. As Stephen Light in the 97s now got huge pressure from the behind Clinkart in the 5 machine. Still, Peacock, though, it looks like quite a battle down at corner number 3. Right now, we're still 2 by 2 for the race lead, as though Stephen Light will get a huge run here on the apex of 3 and 4.
Yeah, that will be the 81 of Taylor Peacock being pushed by the 20 of Jose Rivera. The 97 of Stephen Lee, he's going to come up to block that run from that top side. Luckily, no harm, no foul. Everyone will race on. Very risky move there, blocking that big of a run, guys.
Yeah,
Man, wow, sorry about that. I was going to say, watching that right there, that could have been calamity, Will. Those trucks could have stacked up with one another. Great piece of patience of driving by those guys as they work off the back straightaway now.
No, that's perfect there, Wes. We've seen it here tonight. Only a couple cautions on the racetrack. These drivers are very excellent in what they do to control the draft, control the aerodynamics, control the pull. We've seen trucks get very close here on the corners. Nothing too crazy just yet. As Wes, as you mentioned, the big one will happen here. But what I'm watching, guys, is Jose Luis Rivera there. Remember, he was behind Jimmy Emos there, who had the old equipment. He had to go all the way back to the tail end of that top side lane, now back in the contention inside the top 5.
Watching them now work into the corner as, by the way, as we mentioned, we're closing in on the end of stage number 2. It'll be now 3 laps to go when they come back to the start-finish line. They've already hit the back straightaway again as Meza gets a little loose in front of that machine of the 97 Clinkhart now. Here comes now Blanchard trying to power back up to the front again. Time running out, but when it counts the most, he powers Hunter to the number 1 spot. Here comes Blanchard trying to sweep the dual stages off of turn number 4.
Yeah, Chris Blanchard right there in the mix, just trying to get his way up there, his window of opportunity. Lap 48 right now, down in the corner number 1. So Clinkhart as our race leader.
Yeah, Chris Blanchard, he's got stage 1 win in the bag. Now he's looking almost at the big picture at the end of this race. He's going to try and get another stage win. We know how he wants to race, what he wants. But he's also got to keep in mind that you don't want to put yourself at risk and take yourself out of this one that early on.
You have to also remember lap trucks are in the way. They're now in the pack of those trucks, and now here comes now an opportunity for Raul Meza to lick his chops. He'll pounce on the leader of Blanchard. He'll make him fall all the way back to the number 3 spot. Is now also Clinkhart puts his nose in the dogfight. Here comes also Peacock going after it as they come to the line. 2 laps to go, Will, in stage number 2 at Daytona.
Yeah, it was strange to me from the 5 machine. Looks like Clinkhart may have had something go wrong inside that cockpit. Really fell off the pace there. Chris Blanchard, as you mentioned there, Wes, had to put that nose right on the back bumper. It did give Clinkhart a little bit of a push to keep momentum, keep pace right there. But now Raul Meza in that 37 will take us off of 2, down the backstretch.
Oh!
Big wreck off of 2. Raul Meza flew out of the track right there. Huge wreck. A lot of leaders involved as the caution is out just at the end of stage number 2.
And they're not done crashing. They're spinning down below the bottom of the infield, but there's what's left of the Surf Pro number 37 of Raul Meza. Guys, he got airborne. A little aggressive at the end of stage number 2. I called it. I felt like it was going to happen a little bit before then, but just fighting for position to try to get those stage point wins.
Yeah, I believe it was a 97 of Stephen Lee. He tried to jump up in front of that outside row of Peacock and Rivera, as they're going to get a replay here. As they go through turn 1 and 2, we'll keep an eye on our front 2 cars of Meza and Leak. As we're coming through turns 1 and 2, as you see the 81 and the 20 are a little bit behind, but they will get the momentum run off of the corner. Not sure if a bad block went awry.
I think for me, I saw Stephen Light go to the outside to make a move on the 37 Raul Meza. You see him drifting up the track just a little bit there.
I gotta wonder if it's a bad bump draft gone bad, guys. Look at him right there. He hooked the left rear or the right rear, and you never do that. Look at the hang time on Raul Meza. I believe I could fly, and I could also become a virtual motorsports tiny dancer, if you will, as well.
Somebody's going to get a lucky fan will get a souvenir on the other side of that catch fence. Some pieces of that car definitely went flying off.
Yeah, I think the 97 just tried to come up and get to the outside of that 37, get that outside momentum run with Peacock. And just the 37 of Raul just kind of misjudged him that run and just came up into the 97 and all hell broke loose.
This is going to be fun, guys. On board with Meza on the gyro cam. Look at this. Listen. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Other way around. 9. Was that 9? 8.5?
I don't know, but he stuck the landing, so that's got to count.
Yeah, I'll give it a 10. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for the landing.
Wow. And by the way, guys, I think this will be the end of stage number 2 as well, obviously. So thinking Blanchard was up in front, I think he'll get stage 2 win.
Yeah, well, I'll have to go back ourselves and just see what happened when the caution flag came out, as everyone was just trying to avoid.
See right there, just clips the tail of Raul Meza, and just like me on Valentine's Day, Raul Meza's heart is broken here tonight. Very strong run inside the top 10, top 5. It's really pushing there at the end of stage number 2. Could have snagged the stage 2 victory. Now it looks like he might be out of this race completely.
Yeah, and I do believe it was going to be the 5 getting credit for that stage win, as he was out in front when the caution flag came out. Looking like the 9 is still on pit road for some damage. Why don't we bring up the number 5 of Jacob Klinkart? I do believe it is your stage 2 winner.
Yeah, you're catching up with him right now in that 5 machine.
Jacob, it's Hunter, Will, and Wes in the booth. You got us.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't even really know what to say, but wow, I'm not sure if you got the stage win or not, but looking at replay, you were out in front when that caution came out. Just kind of take us through your vision of what happened there.
I was actually in the position I wanted to be in. I won a stage win, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't too upset about getting this if I was going to get it or not. I was kind of just going to let it hold out and see what was going to happen. I didn't trust the 2 that were in front of me. And so when those 2 wrecked, it worked out perfectly.
For sure, like you said, not exactly how you wanted it to go down, but you did what you needed to try to stay alive. So at this point, we're halfway through. What is it going to take, seeing how this race has gone so far, to stay up front, to be there in 50 more laps?
It's to be honest, it's gonna be typical super speedway racing, just survival. You probably won't see me until later in the race. I'll be in the back and just chilling with my teammate Tyler Dittmer, and then hopefully near the end, closer to the end, after the green flag stops, I'll be back up front.
You got a feeling the craziness is about to happen here. The circus at Daytona about to go down, ain't it, buddy?
Yeah, I do, but I think I've won here a couple of times, so I'm not worried. I've got this.
Well, we got some confidence in that number 5. We will get you back with your team as we get ready to start the final stage. Good luck, Jacob, and hopefully we'll talk to you here at the end.
All right, thank you.
You heard he said that. Y'all heard what he said though, right? He said, "I'm going to the back. I'm getting the hell. I'm getting out of the way of the front cars, and I'm getting out of the snakes patch." As the great Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer used to always tell me, the snakes patch. So he's going to the back. He's got a wingman. You heard him say a teammate, and then he's going to wait till probably guys about 15, 20 to go, and then you're going to see him come to the front.
Yeah, once that field window opens up, you might even see some guys go down earlier than expected, than running out on empty. But as we are getting ready to go back green, the pace truck is gonna be diving down. Barney is waving the green as we are starting your final stage at Daytona in the Buckkicker 250.
Yeah, down in corner number 1 right now. It looks like, from what I'm seeing, our race leader on the track is a Toyota. I just can't see exactly who he is on the top right there. I was looking at something that's very breaking here at the drop of the green flag. That's Stephen Thomas in the 23 leading us down the backstretch. Chris Blanchard is out of this race, and Jose Luis Rivera are also out of this race. So 2 top contenders we had coming into this race here tonight are now completely out.
Got to remember, guys, there's no fast repairs in the Triple M Pulling NASCAR Truck Series, meaning you have got to race smart. When do you get aggressive, Hunter? When do you go out of line? That's the question, but you've got to be patient to be there at the end in stage 3. Here we go.
For sure, you definitely don't want to go too early. You don't want to be in that middle of the pack, as we talked about earlier. You want to wait. I would almost wait 5-10 laps to go and try and get up front. But right now, you just got to worry about making sure your pit strategy is going to be able to be done. You got to have your teammates with you. You got to have trucks with you. Right now, it's just all about survival to that green flag pit stop.
Yeah, as Destiny Childs once saying, "I will survive. I am a survivor." And look at Thomas in that 23. So our race leader down to corner number 3. But look at Mata in that 7. A great run out of that team here tonight. Been a solid top 5 truck all night long. Now in a great spot here in the end of this run.
Watching them climb the banking here at Daytona. They climb now back off through the tri-oval. Working off turn 4 to the line. It's now Clint in that 7 truck up to the lead. Thomas will follow. Painter and Hagen will now stay inside your top 5. They climb the banking, working off the 34 degrees of banking off of turn number 2, down the super stretch, and all the while, right now, Thomas keeping the inside lane preferred as the fast truck, as here comes the battle now on the inside. Coming Thomas, coming Mata. Who will it be as they sit to 3?
A lot of drivers up front, guys, that we haven't talked about almost all race. Well, we got Clint Mata, Steven Thomas, Painter, Hagen, Pugh, Sickles. A lot of drivers that just haven't been up front, but now is the time to kind of establish yourself, try and put yourself up front for this final stage.
Yes, Thomas will take us down into quarter number 1, still side by side for the race lead, though we are 2 by 2 for the top 4 positions here on the apex of 1 and 2. Mata in that 7 is trying to inch that top side just enough to get ahead of Thomas. Now Thomas has a full truck length down the backstretch right now, and there's clear separation in the inside lane as we head down to quarter number 3.
The back straightaway, everybody now stays to the inside for the marbles here in stage number 3, 44 laps to go. Thomas, Mata, Hagen, Painter, Pugh, top 5. Everybody just kind of wiggling and giggling and a jiggling, a bobbling, but nobody pounces to the top spot as they work their way off of turn number 4 to the line.
As we hit the strike right now, 57 is in the books, 58 down the corner. Number 1 still side by side for the lead. And as you mentioned, Wes, so a lot of playing around, a little foreplay, if you will, to the end of this race here tonight. No driver yet is pulling out the big moves, the big stops to increase the position on the racetrack. Still side by side right now for second position on the racetrack. Mata's just trying to get that push and Painter as we head down into corner number 3.
Now is the time to start making teammates, start making friends. A lot of drivers have been taken out of this one. Your teammates are gone. It is time to find someone new to see who you can go with to the end of this one.
Yeah, time to see where your allies are now as you're into the home stretch. You've done what you needed to do to make it in here to the last 60 laps, probably around lap 70, 75. That's when you're really going to see them pull the trigger, and we're going to see who wants to come to the front and win this opening race. Remember, also, guys, you covered it on 360 Racing Network for NASRA. You have literally last couple of weeks had qualifying, you had the duels, you had the clash, but obviously not points racing. This is your first points race of the season. So if you can come out at Daytona and be on top, or at least in the top 5, that carries your momentum into next week as well.
For sure. It's a long season, but everyone wants to win Daytona. It's just Daytona. The history, everything. To come out of week 1 and say you won the Daytona butt kicker is almost trend-setting for the rest of the season.
It surely is. It'll carry momentum into week 2, just as Wes touched on. And what a weight off your shoulders it would be to get the first win out of the season here at Daytona in week number 1 of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. As Wes touched on, this is officially the first points race of the season as well. So starting to see these drivers pull out a lot more stops as we look once again. That inside lane will be the fast track lane down to corner number 3.
Back straightaway right now, all bets are off as here comes Thomas now, working up on the outside lane is Mata. Up on the outside, inside is Thomas. Everyone hold on to that spot. Here comes Hagen now. He now gives a little punt in the pants to Mata to power him back to the bump draft to the lead as they work their way, working off of turn number 4 to the line. 40 to go here at Daytona.
One driver to keep your eyes on is that 23 is Steven Thomas. We haven't talked a whole lot about him this season so far, but he is your season 5 champion. He got the win last year at, I believe, Charlotte was their championship race. Coming out here week 1, leading the field, 40 to go. He's looking to go back to back.
Yeah, back-to-back like Drizzy Drake right now here as you see Mata getting a big push from Hagen up there. Now, Hagen has some racing stripes on the inside of that truck. Doesn't matter how pretty you are in victory lane, just as long as you get there. And the way he is pushing Mata along on that top side, it's okay. They can be a 2-car tandem on that top side. They are still keeping pace with the leaders so far as we're down the front stretch. Lap 60 is all but done. 61 down to corner number 1.
Yeah, I think I jumped the gun, guys. It's actually Bradley now officially 40 laps to go as 61 laps are up on the board. Thomas is the man out in front, though, but look at Mata. Mata now, for a second, thought he was going to go to the inside. He goes back up to the outside lane. He's got Hagen to deal with. He's got Pugh and Painter. Bradley, by the way, here comes the Lawrenceburg, Indiana native. First time we mention his name into the top 7. All this happening to the back straightaway.
Yeah, as we hit the apex of 3 and 4 right now, as we see the rest of the field, though, Wes, about, I'd say, past about the 15th position. Very fanned out, very stretched out. These drivers just having difficulty holding pace here tonight. Still a long way to go. As you mentioned, about 40 and make it 39 laps to go.
Yeah, it was interesting to look at right there. The 39 had to go down pit road. Not sure if he didn't take fuel at the end of stage 2 or not, but we are 39 laps away from the finish. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the end. So we have to keep our eyes on that 39 of Hagen here towards the end of this one, as Stephen Thomas will lay him down the backstretch. Now we're going to have the 19, another driver we haven't talked about a lot, Jonathan Pugh. Very good driver at these super speedways. Always one to keep your eyes on, no matter where you're at.
Well, right now it's going to be Stephen Thomas holding on to that top spot. Jonathan Pugh. And as I mentioned, here comes Keith Bradley. I call him the animal from Indiana. The Lawrenceburg native now powers his way into the battle. Up side is Mata's truck. All of this carrying on now as they come to the line. It is go time. The question is, when do you pull the trigger, Will? It's got to be soon. The clock is running short. The hourglass sands are graining to the end. And somebody is going to win here in round 1 at Daytona. We just don't know who it is right now.
No, not yet. So long way to go here in this race. As we're down the backstretch, the top side lane has all but dissipated up there. They're waiting for some people to come up and help that top side lane. They have found no help so far right now, as the low side still is maintaining the momentum around the racetrack here. Around 3 and 4, still Thomas, our race leader, as we exit forward to the front stretch.
Another thing to keep in mind, some of those drivers might be trying to plan to pit early, so they're going to want to be on that bottom lane. You may not see much of a top lane be forming here unless some of these drivers plan on staying out as long as possible before pitting.
Yeah, I got to think right now as we see more of these slow lap trucks in front of the leaders, and they might be some kind of chaos and mayhem to watch as they work their way now down the back straightaway with Thomas now the leader. Pugh in second. By the way, you think of Clinkhart. He is back in 10th, the stage 2 winner, stage 1 winner. Jacob, where's he at? Boy, he's all the way back on the scoring pylon. Stage 1 winner, 26th for Chris Blanchard in the number 9. They got to go if they want to be in the winner's circle here now. But again, it might be that strategy, hanging back, Will and Hunter.
Oh, we have one spinner for the infield. I believe that's a 78 of Keith Haney.
Yeah.
No caution, but no caution though, guys. No caution. This happened below the bottom of the racetrack. He looks like he's about to enter onto the race on the pit lane. No caution.
Yeah,
I was just about to mention the run that Keith Haney had. He was slowly but surely creeping inside the top 10. I believe he was around the 8th position when he had that unfortunate event. You can't miss him out on the racetrack with those flashy paint schemes.
And one thing I want to mention, you mentioned Chris Blanchard back there in that 26th position. He is only 1 lap down. He did ensue some damage from that big wreck at the end of stage 2. Certainly not out of this one by any means, but he's going to certainly need a prayer of a caution before potentially going 2 laps down.
And you got to remember, the problem that happened to Keith Haney's truck, gentlemen, he was down below the bottom of the racing groove inside of the racetrack on the apron. That's why the caution was not thrown. And therefore, the race goes on as Thomas and Pugh. Bradley, Wade now. First time we mentioned Ted Wade. He's up in this battle. All this going on as they hit the back straightaway on lap 65.
Yeah, like a SpaceX rocket, they are now taking off from Cape Canaveral on that top side lane, led by Bradley up there. All of a sudden, we have a top side lane for right now, as Bradley will inch ahead for the race lead here across the strike. 66 will belong to Keith Bradley, our race leader, down to 1.
Very interesting, Will and Wes. That 3 is Chris Cinnamon. He was caught up in that first wreck back on lap 2 or 3. Must not have ensued much damage because those top 3 on your outside row are all teammates from Upfront Motorsports, the 29, the 2, and the 3. So 3 teammates out front, they are definitely going to be hard to beat for sure.
The big dogs begin to growl, snarling, growling is the animal. Keith Bradley, he goes to the top shelf where Grandma hides the cookies from Grandpa. He'll take Wade up to the top of the racetrack with them. All of this going on for the lead. Thomas is under attack on the bottom. Bradley, the animal, looks to lead here at Daytona down to the home stretch in stage 3.
Ted Wade right now is trying to be Wilson the volleyball. He's trying to be a great friend to Keith Bradley here at the top of the grid. Now they will separate by 2 for third right there with Chris Cinnamon, but he will follow Keith Bradley for the lead. Now slide to the left to the inside lane right now as we're inching along this race here down the backstretch.
I almost got to be thinking those Upfront Motorsport guys, they got to be pitting soon. Very odd to see the 29 and the 2 leave their teammate up top, but quickly as those front 2 dive down, the 3 quickly got down to the bottom lane. So you got to be thinking, guys, these pit stops got to be coming up sooner than later.
All of this transpiring now as they work their way back out of turn 4. They flash across the start-finish line here at the famous Virtual World Center of Racing. It is now close to 30 laps to go, and the clock coming to an end, approaching the triple digits and the century grind of the butt kicker 250. Bradley and his Ford leads them off the corner. He's now pulling away. This is now also Devin Painter on board with him. Behind him is Cinnamon, Michael McKinnon, Clint Motta. All of this transpiring as they go to turn number 3.
You're getting a shot of our pole sitter, Brandon Bullock, right there in that 17 as well, just outside the mix. But we'll see here. Once these pit stops ensue, we just saw him get a little loose there on the corner. These pit stops will have to happen before the conclusion of this race. How that reshuffles the grid here like an iPod shuffle, we will wait and see. Cross the line, lap 17 down to corner number 1. Keith Bradley still leading the way.
Your race could come down to how your green flag pit stop goes. You don't want to get a penalty on speeding pit road. You don't want it exiting pit road. Your race will come down to that green flag pit stop if a caution doesn't come out.
It is go time now, ladies and gentlemen. We approach now 3/4 of this race in the books and about another handful of laps around lap number 75. You know the go trigger is about ready to go. The drivers are now in their virtual lords, these warlords, ready to now go to the front to decide who's going to win this thing. Look at all the aggressiveness, which is now being patience. There's now Motta up the racetrack. He's now battling hard with Jonathan Pugh's Toyota on the inside. He's about to be stuck in that 3-wide battle as here comes Hales in the mix, but they thought better of it, but then they go back to 2x2, 1x1, single file. When do you break loose? When do you start breaking away from these packs? And by the way, if Bradley continues to bring this 4 or 5 truck pack, they're going to open up distance from that second pack for 5th on back on the back straightaway.
Yeah, and you saw Motta with a huge run in that 7 truck being pushed from our pole sitter Bullock in that 17. They just lost momentum quickly. They hit some quicksand on their journey to the top of the grid. But right now, as you mentioned, Wes, they're starting to separate there at the top. Keith Bradley will lead us off of 4, so as our race leader.
Yeah, you're only 2 cars on the outside, the 7 of Clint Motta and the 17 of Bullock. They're in a little bit of hurt now. They're going to have to get down to the bottom or hopefully have someone come up with them. Otherwise, they will be dropping like an anchor before all is said and done.
Yeah, their hopes of winning here tonight are sinking faster than the Titanic when it hit that iceberg. But Keith Bradley still our race leader off of 2 down the super stretch, as you like to say, Wes. But for Motta in that 7 machine, when do they get down to the inside if they have to make those pit stops?
Yeah, it's got to be patient right now. You wonder if it's going to be inside or outside lane, as right now the animal holds everybody down to the inside of the racetrack. Catfishing, if you will, below the yellow line. You don't want to go below that yellow line, but they hug to the the yellow line, right there into the corner. Working now off turn number 4. Bradley Wade Thomas. Everyone single file as the train choo-choos down the conga line into the tri-oval and close it in on 25 to go in Daytona for the butt kicker 250 and the winner of race number 1 of the season for 18 weeks before the playoffs for the Triple M Pulling Truck Series sanctioned by NASRA.
As you mentioned, just 28 laps to go. Our fuel window is open, so at any point we could have these guys come down pit road for some splash and go. But right now, Keith Bradley's still going to be out front, leading with the number 2 of his teammate, Ted Wade, on his rear bumper, not letting go. Starting to split away from that 3rd spot of Stephen Thomas. But right now, that's 7 and 17, still trying to make headway on the top side.
Hey, by the way, Will, I don't mean to cut you off also, but what Hunter just said, to elaborate on that, green flag pit stops for the first time here tonight at Daytona to determine the winner. That could really throw a monkey wrench in strategy too, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. These drivers have that in the back of their mind. They're battling for positions right now on the racetrack here on lap 74. They have to figure out, they have to calculate the right way to pit here tonight. And Hunter, looking back on last night's race in the over-the-top designs Xfinity Series, that's what that came down to last night in those Xfinity cars, was that pit strategy, when to go down, when to stay out. And it was drivers that did pit a little bit earlier in that window that were the race winner.
For sure. Phoenix, a little bit different than Daytona, of course. Phoenix, you can kind of pit on your own and be all good. You pit on your own at Daytona, you're in a lot of trouble. You're going to need at least 3-4 trucks to go down pit road with you. 2 trucks just not going to be enough, so you're going to have to get on terms real quick with someone else out there and try and make something happen out of it.
Got to be thinking right now, as we mentioned earlier, friends and foes, allies, when does this happen? They're coming to the line. It is now 25 laps to go when they work off of turn number 4. Down the back straightaway right now, everyone is. It's still Bradley and Wade. Wade trying to look inside. Oh, he got him loose. Oh, boy, you see how he backed off? That could have been a bump draft going bad. Will, he respected him. Wade gave him his room. Let Bradley continue. We come to the line with 3/4 complete of the butt kicker 250.
Yeah, as we come up forward right now, Keith Bradley and Ted Wade look closer than Rodman and Jordan on the Bulls in the 90s. They are locked in to 1-2 on the grid across the line. 25 laps to go as Keith Bradley takes us down into 1.
That was the 9 of Chris Blanchard, your early race leader, stage 1 winner, going 2 laps down. Now he's with that group of cars with the draft. See if he can maybe make something happen, get some lucky cautions, potentially get some lucky dogs. Certainly 2 laps down, you're 25 to go. Still certainly not out of this one by any means.
No, not by any chance at all. And right now, you got to wonder when you got to have that patience. We saw what happened when Tate Wade, his Chevrolet, got into the Ford of Bradley, got into Will, the left rear. And again, you saw him get him really, really loose. He was going to dirt track it off the back straightaway. But what did Wade do? He backed off. He let Bradley correct and let him get back going again. That's patience, where patience given, patience is earned, whether it's virtual or reality. He'll remember that when they come to the home stretch of the finish of this race, no doubt.
Right now, we're watching a real-life Ricky Bobby with Keith Bradley leading the way and Cal Naughton behind him. You see Cal keep trying to make those moves. He said, I want to lead some laps. I want to get in victory lane. But Ted Wade, wisely, as you mentioned, Wes is inching back behind because they have to pit together. As Hunter touched on there, you don't want to go by or down by yourself here. You want to stay with your friends as we come around 3 and 4.
Everyone's single file throughout this field. Something's telling me we gotta be going in pretty soon here, unless people are just gonna be waiting out for a late race caution. But we got some of your lap cars still trying to get back up front on that high side, trying to earn their lap back the hard way.
Guys, I'm thinking, it's been a while since I played a fuel strategist analyst here, but I'm thinking, if I'm remembering correctly, oh my, I'm thinking they're probably going to start making green flag pit stops unless we get a caution wheel with about 20 to 18 laps to go. That's my prediction. If I'm correct on my calculations estimating fuel consumption, I'm thinking between 20 to 18 laps to go. That's when everybody will come in for green flag pit stops.
Yeah, that would give us about 3 or 4 lap of a window right now. Now the question is, which drivers head down early? Which drivers hit that number right on the nose as we're going to pass by pit road right now? The leaders will stay out. Keith Bradley will take us across the line with 22 laps to go down the corner number 1.
For sure. And you guys talked about it. When do you go? When do you not go? If you're in the middle of that pack and you're only going 180, 179 or so in a draft, you can break out with 3 or 4 trucks, come out of pit road, and easily hit up to 183, up to 185 or so, or even a little bit quicker. So, and that's with a good group of drafters and being really tight to each other. So, pitting early can definitely play a big factor in eventually getting yourself out in front in the race lead.
Hands down, you're exactly right, Hunter. You got to be able to play your cards right. As right now, here comes Wade. He now powers down to the inside of the Ford of Bradley. Bradley now protects the inside. He went to the outside for just a moment. Thought better of it as they work their way across start-finish. Thomas in third. Pugh, Madia, the top 5. That's the way it stands as we approach lap 80, Hunter, back into turn number 1, Will.
Yeah, right now Keith Bradley still leading the way around 1 and 2. Ted Wade, though, has to watch out. Like any good poker player, you don't want to show your poker face. You don't want to let them know you have pocket aces. For right now, Ted Wade keeps trying to find those spots, trying to inch around Keith Bradley. We won't see that move until about 5 to go, even 3 to go. Right now, he is content with riding on the back bumper with Keith Bradley as we're around 3 and 4 right now, but checking in with Clint Mata in that 7 machine, still on that top side, getting pushed along with Chris Blanchard, who is now 2 laps down here in this race.
Yeah, Chris is at this point 2 laps down. It's a little bit of a stretch to get back on that lead lap. Certainly not almost feasible to do. But right now he's going to try and get up front, try and help his teammates as best as he can to get his teammates out in that top 3 position, as 3 of them are in that top 5 or 6 spots right now.
Coming down to the final 20 laps of the first season opener for the season of the Triple M Pulling Truck Series on NASRA 360 Racing Network in the Butt Kicker 250. 20 laps to go. Right now, everybody is playing possum. Nobody is jumping out of line. The question is when they hold their line wheel coming off of turn 4 to the line, and it's still Bradley leading.
Yeah, still Bradley is our race leader. Ted Wade, though, tried to follow him on the exit of the corner. Got a little bit of the wiggles right there, Wes. You saw him not like that draft line on the exit of the corner. But now with 19 laps to go, we have touched on it a few times now as we're counting the laps down here. This is race number 1, week number 1 here. We've had our dual races here at Daytona. This will put a cap on a beautiful speed weeks here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. But here tonight, you want to get that first win out of the way. Keith Bradley is trying to get the job done as he leads the way down to corner number 3.
Backstretch into that third turn. There's more lap trucks up in the way. What might have been for that man earlier in the event as his truck now goes back and goes a lap down. It's Bradley. Here they come. I told you I called it. Did I call it or I call it, guys? Here comes the cavalry on pit road.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. A lot of trucks having to check up. Looks like a truck's going to miss pit road here. Trying to see who that is. Going to completely miss pit road. Going to drag race down the grass. See if there's any contact there. Doesn't look like it to me.
You got to remember, too, Will and Hunter, you can't be speeding entering the pit lane. There might be penalties coming from this race also for the pit stops.
Yeah, that was the 99 of Devin Painter.
Oh, trouble! Leader turned into the wall. Bill Hells down the back straightaway, got turned by a lap truck. He got airburn, went about 1.5 on his roof, came back down on all 4s, throw the caution strategy out the window for green flag pit stops. We're under yellow with 17 remaining.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say, though, those guys who did pit, that just gave them a big favor as we go through these pit stops. Once everyone gets caught back up with the pace car, those guys that were still out on the racetrack, they're going to have to pit. That's going to hand the lead right back over to those guys who did come down, such as Bradley and Wade.
Yep, just like when the iPod came out, you threw those iPod shuffles out of the window. We don't have to worry about any Yahtzee shuffles, no rolling of the dice here tonight. As you just mentioned, Hunter, we'll just have a flip-flop of the leaders here in just a minute. And those leaders we saw leading when that caution flag flew, when they headed down pit road, will again be our race leaders when everything settles out here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that replay there. That will be your race leader, the 25, Bill Hales, out front on his own, getting turned by the lap car. I believe that was Jimmy Emos even coming off of turn 2.
So
Yeah.
Bill Hales again, guys, the 25 truck, as we're watching this off the pole instant replay again. That's the 85 getting into him. He hooked him in the left rear, and obviously he didn't lift. Remember what we were talking about when you need to lift, be aggressive, not be aggressive? He didn't lift that time, and I find it frustrating, Will and Hunter, that is a lap truck that got into the way of the leader. But I also think that, I don't think there was any intention behind it. There's, of course, Jimmy Emos. Remember, he started stage number 2 up in the front as the leader because he did not pit when other drivers did. And there's the end exchange there for what just happened to, again, Hell's truck. At 1.5 on his roof, he's able to continue along. I think he'll have a little damage, but not much. But we're ready to settle here the shootout at Daytona. And by the way, everybody's going to be pitting. The gloves are off. They're going to fill up the tanks. They're going to make whatever adjustments are needed. We're going to have one hell of a finish coming up here for the Daytona Butt Kicker 250.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, all those guys going down pit road early before that caution, inherit the race lead. Ted Wade out front, followed by the 29 of Keith Bradley, Jonathan Pugh. And I do want to correct myself. Earlier, I mentioned the 3 of Chris Cinnamon being up there in the top 3. He's almost 35, 36 laps down from that early wreck. So right now he's got his truck fixed. He's just out there helping his teammates the best that he can to keep them out front.
Yeah, and talking about up front, I believe we might have this opportunity to catch up with the race leader there that headed down pit road right before that caution came out, and that's Keith Bradley in that 29 machine. See if you can't catch up with him real quick here, Wes.
Hey, Animal, you got me? You're on the close to winning the biggest win of your iRacing career at Daytona. What's your take on what's going to happen this last 20 laps, and you're in the lead?
I think it's going to be crazy, Wesley. So far it's been pretty wild. As long as we can keep our truck pretty clean, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll have a good shot at it.
I think we said for the most part it's been a kind of a comfortable race, but I think you're ready for the fireworks to fly, aren't you?
Oh, I'm always ready for the fireworks to fly.
Hey, look, can we go back as the lights are off for the pace truck? What respect that Ted Wade gave you earlier? He could have turned you in the left rear on the back straightaway, but he definitely backed off and let you correct it after you got dirt track sideways there for a moment.
Yeah, and I respect the hell out of Ted. We're teammates, so of course we're gonna give each other some respect on the racetrack, and he cut me a big break there.
All right, guys, go get them. Should be fun. There's the driver out of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Animal, Keith Bradley. I'm telling you, Will and Hunter, the gloves are off, I think, even for teammates to decide the winner here at Daytona when we come back to green.
For sure, and as you're watching right now, a little bit of a lineup issue, trying to get caught up with the pace car. Some cars not totally caught up. But as we're going to 15 to go, almost 14 to go when we go back to green, I want to get your guys' take. Who's your pick to win now?
Ooh.
I'm gonna answer that question with what my dad used to tell me a long time ago when I was a kid, before I became a 30-year broadcaster for a career. The first guy that crosses the finish line, that's going to be your winner.
That's a good one. I like that one. I like that. Looking at it right now, Hunter, to answer your question, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to pick out a clear winner right now. We have a little bit of a shuffle going on here at the top of the grid. We have our leaders that did head down pit road there. So they're going to be on that fresh equipment. So it's going to be very difficult to determine who will have the better run here towards the end of this race. Of course, you have to keep names like Keith Bradley in mind, Ted Wade, who we saw very strong there in that run before the caution flag flew. But maybe it could be one of these surprise guys that we haven't called out a lot here tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, I don't know. Now that I think about it, Will or Hunter, I'm thinking, man, I'm thinking anybody in the top 10 right now. Behind the top 10, top 15, I think could win this thing. Keith Bradley, Ted Wade, Michael McKinnon's back up there. Clint Matas look good. Brandon Bullock look good. I'm thinking anybody right now from probably 5th on to 15th. I don't think it's going to be anybody in the top 5 right now. I just don't see that happening.
Right.
I'm gonna go against you there, Wes. We kind of talked on it earlier before you arrived in the booth. The 971, Nathan Maurer. He's in our
Okay.
Monday Night Truck Series. He's got 3 wins in a row right now, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 or 4. He's on quite a bit of a hot streak right now, and he's lined up on the front row. That's going to be my pick to win this thing.
Well, another guy that I got to think about is Eric Zimmerman, guys. That's another driver that I've known back in the years past when I used to be with Nazra back in 2020. He used to be in everybody's way. He would be caught up in accidents. He would be caught up in things that weren't even his fault. He'd have just a bad handling truck or a car and just be in everybody's way and fall to the back. But I am so impressed with Eric Zimmerman. His Chevrolet looks really, really good right now, sitting in the number 3 spot. And hopefully I don't jinx him right now, because if he crashes, he's going to say, Wesley, it's your fault. You should have talked about me. So the dreaded announcer jinx, though, gentlemen, as we get ready to come back to the Geico restart zone to decide the winner of the butt kicker. 250 pace car is onto the pit lane. It is about to be 14 laps to go, now 13 remaining. And we have ourselves a barn burner brewing at the Virtual World Center of Racing as they come back to green.
Yeah, we are burning some Goodyear Eagles down into corner number 1 right now, as it looks like things are getting a little fanned out at the top of the grid here at the apex of 1 and 2. Nathan Maurer, you just touched on it there, Hunter, with a huge run here on corner number 2. Getting very dicey, though, on the exit of 2 down the super stretch.
Yeah, he was closing in really quick on that 86 of Kyle Hess and couldn't, unfortunately, back up enough not to try and stay out of the back of him. Zimmerman was hot on his tail, and very lucky that no wrecks were caused out of that. A lot of tight bumper racing, but now we're going to start doubling up through the field. And to answer your question, Wes, from earlier, now is the time to go.
Yeah, the gloves are gloves are off, my friend, as they climb the banking out of turn number 3 and 4. Now they work their way back to the dry oval. It's Hess now the leader. Your pick now, Nate Mower, starting to show some of his strength, as right now he now powers to the inside. It's now Ted Wade now sticking his nose in the battle. Bradley will follow. The gloves are off as they climb the banking out of turn number 2 here at Daytona.
Yeah, surprise name, Hartwick in the 93 is now leading the charge on the outside lane down the super stretch right now, being pushed from Ted Wade in that 2 machine. As you mentioned, Wes, the gloves are off. It is time to scrap here. And from the musical poet that is Cardi B, it is time for those money moves here at Daytona. Around 3 and 4, Hess is our race leader on the exit of 4.
Yeah, they work their way now back off the corner again, Hunter, and all the while they come to the line. It's going to be 11 laps to go. We mentioned your friends. We mentioned your foes. We mentioned your allies. There's contact right there with Wade, the over-the-top designs machine, getting into that machine in the top 5 of Mower. Mower battles back as he stays to the top side in turn number 2.
Yeah, that's Hartwick getting forced.
Correction, yes. Hartwick's truck, yes.
Ted Wade was trying to do what he could to kind of give Hartwick that little bump up, try and sneak in the middle there, and once he knew that gap was going to close up, Ted did the respectable thing and backed out, let him have the spot, and pounced right back on that top side with his teammate, the 29 of Keith Bradley.
No! Trouble! Cinnamon's, oh my, that's McKinnon's involved. Trucks are spinning, they're flying, they're flipping. Stage 1 winner involved, the 5.
Wow.
Clinkhart's caught up in it. Oh my. Will, I told you, I had a feeling.
I have a feeling as well. I feel like the danger zone lane has just claimed another victim. You saw Hardwick get split like a nice Philly cheesesteak right there. Was in the middle lane by himself and he gets very loose on that middle lane right there. You see that air starting to push him from left to right.
Yeah, and I have more updating news as we're watching the replay right now. We'll watch replay and I will update you with this news afterwards. We see the 94 and the 20 get together in 3 and 4. Gets up to the 2 of Ted Wade. Wade fortunate enough to kind of keep it up there out of harm's way.
That's Thomas.
Wow, that's Thomas.
Oh.
So, you know what? Look at McKinnon's truck. It's so many. There's the 7 Armada. So many trucks that were up in the top 15, the top 10 earlier this race, now littered and scattered. And remember what Clinkhart said. Remember what those other guys said? I'm going to hang in the back. I'm going to stay out of the way. He might have just got up to the front a little too early to get caught up in that accident there, Will and Hunter. My.
Guys, I have one more updating news. We didn't see it because we were watching the wreck ensue back here. But as cars were going into turn 1 and 2, the 86, your leader, Kyle Hess, had a little bit of, I don't know if technical difficulty with his, his sim rig, ended up locking him up. As you're looking right here, it says his wheel came undone.
Man.
Not sure if he had that happen. As he was up front, had no damage, locks him up, comes down the racetrack.
Wow.
Oh,
no.
Bradley
Is
had
that
nowhere
Bradley?
to go.
Oh,
Yeah,
There's
no.
Bradley. That's Bradley in the 29. He's going to collect Hess there after a technical failure inside of that machine. Wow.
And you know what? In the world of short track racing, that would be called a secondary yellow, but that don't mean the hill of beans here in iRacing. His truck just got damaged on the front end by the 29 for the animal. That is a tough break for both of those trucks there, Will. Man.
He's gonna be an animal down pit road after just being collected like that. You're gonna watch some helmets fly, some tires fly down pit road. The way that just ended Keith Bradley's night in that 29.
very unfortunate for him. You always gotta hate when something happens after a caution, but something technical difficulty like that. What's going through your mind, guys?
I mean, other than my steering wheel going across the room, not much. For Hess, you saw him there on that restart, was very strong, holding it down up there. And just to have your night end on a technicality is not how anybody, and especially the way this race has been going on here. We've had people leading on the top of the grid have now faded. We've had new leaders at the top. And for Hess right there, we've raced it down, guys, to about 15 laps to go, and that's how your night's going to get ended.
Hey, I will say, though, off the record for Kyle Hess, that's a nice plug for the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. Oh.
Well, after all is said and done after that wreck, let's take a look at your top 5 here. We have the 971 Nathan Maurer out front. Eric Zimmerman still holding in that second spot, even after that little bit of contact with the 93 at Hartwick. Ted Wade still up front as well. Jonathan Pugh in that 19, and Clint Mata back up into the top 5 after being up front early on.
Man, oh man.
And as you mentioned it, Wes, fireworks have indeed ensued here tonight. I don't think anybody here in the top of the grid, with the exception of Mata and Wade, have been top 5, top 10 trucks here tonight. Some surprise names now in great contention for this race victory.
You know, that's what I was saying. You know, the last time that I done a NASCAR broadcast, it was with the Triple M Truck Series guys, and it was last summer with another network that I work for, LSR TV Live Sim Racing. And one of the things that I done was being a radio style back straightaway turn announcer for NASCAR, and they loved it. And when I seen the announcement of the race for the trucks at Daytona, I think it was Sunday night or Monday night, I seen the lineup and I'm like, holy cow, we got a 43 truck field. This is not normally something that we see for other leagues for iRacing recently. And you know, Brady LaBeouf and he reached out, we talked, and enjoyed working with you, Will and Hunter. It's been fun. I'm sorry I'm late. I had another broadcast obligation calling basketball this evening, and but man, this has been fun. This has been exciting, and by the way, we're ready to settle it here with a 8-lap shootout when they come back to the green flag.
Yeah, this has been an absolute blast for me up here in the booth, being joined by you gentlemen here as we see the pace truck now pull off. Lights are off. Green flag is in the air. Barney is ready. With 8 laps to go, we are ready and anxiously waiting to crown our first champion of the season here as Nate Maurer will take us down into corner number 1.
Will and Hunter, they better have that yellow flag handy. Barney better, just all I'm going to say, because I think that we're only getting started with using it. The leaders working their way back up to speed. Your pick now, Hunter. Nate Maurer leads the cavalry over Wade, over Mata, off the back straightaway going to 2.
Yeah, we have 7 laps to go and only 11 trucks on the lead lap right now. Certainly, like you mentioned, keep that yellow flag handy, Barney, because we are not done with this one.
Straight line down into 3 and 4 right now. It is straight all the way on the inside lane. Right now, only 3 trucks on the top side, led by Zimmerman right there, trying to build some momentum right now on the racetrack. But down the front stretch right now, Nathan Maurer will take us to the line, make it 6 laps to go as the 971 takes us down into corner number 1.
Well, the field is now ready to go. Off the corner, up to turn number 1 and 2. They climb the banking. It's Maurer, Hunter's pick, saying, I'm ready to go to the end here. It's 6 laps to go. Wade looking high, looking low. Look at Clint Mata, the Wonder Bread truck. Ricky Bobby's virtual teammate moves to third to the back straightaway.
When is the time to jump out? Right now, Maurer is going to be a sitting duck to whoever's going to be that first car to jump on that outside row, because they're going to have people follow him to try and get up front. As we only have 5 laps to go this time by, as they're going to come through 3 and 4 across the line.
Yeah, Nathan Maurer will take us off of 4 as our race leader. Has Ted Wade right behind him. As you mentioned, Wes, the Wonder Bread machine, that is Mata. In that 7, still in contention. But Hunter, you touched on it. When will we see these moves being made? When will we see House of Pain, that jump to the outside as we're around 1 and 2?
Well, right now, everyone is all single file. It is right now toe-to-toe by at least the next 10 trucks. It's until you get to Pitts and Munda and Klinkhart, by the way, stage 1 winner, before you start to see some 2x2 racing as they exit off the super stretch into turn number 3. Maurer holding off Wade. 5 now coming to 4 to go this time by Hunter as they work off the corner out of 4.
Yeah, down that backstretch, I did see the 7 of Clint Mata try to peek out, but he didn't really have the feel that anyone was going to go with him. Did the smart thing, ducked back down in line, and waited for another time to try it.
And just like you're wondering if the pool is too cold to jump in, these drivers are starting to dip their toes in the water to see if that pool water is just right. We're seeing Adam on in the 7. We're seeing out of Ted Wade as well in that 2nd position. No moves being made so far as Nathan Maurer take us down into corner number 3.
As they work their way to the back straightaway, they know they got to break out of line to make a win move on Maurer. The question is when. Right now, lap truck on the inside below the yellow line. They work into turn number 3. It's everyone now staying single file. Like still, we start to see Zimmerman now make a run back through the field. All this happening behind the trucks as they work to the line with 3 laps to go. But right now, the front pack are playing possum at the stripe.
Yes, we just got a shot of Brandon Bullock, our pole sitter in that 17, now a few laps down out of contention of this race. But Nathan Maurer is fully in contention. He knows this is going to burst. He knows the fireworks will ensue here with 3 laps to go. Throw up those 3s. Rest in peace to Dale Earnhardt, because Nathan Maurer is taking us down the backstretch, down to 3.
Keeping an eye on back, about 5 or 6 cars. We got Chris Blanchard trying to lead an outside row together with Sickles and Jonathan Pugh on the lead lap. Just don't think they're going to have enough of a run at this moment to make anything work for those guys on the lead lap, as we're going to be coming this time by 2 laps to go in the Butt Kicker 250 season opener at Daytona. Maurer is still going to be leading them as the 2 of Ted Wade still on his bumper. If you're Ted Wade, do you stay on his bumper, or are you going to be trying to get up and jump on that outside first spot possible?
Well, as they climb the banking, you got to think now someone's jumping out of line. They tried to get disassembled, but then they quickly had to get back aligned with one another, Will, as they work the back straightaway. Now a little bit more coming unglued on the front pack, but all the while, Nate Maurer hugs the bottom of the racetrack as they climb the banking into turn number 3. They're looking for the white flag here for the season opener at Daytona next time by out of turn 4.
Yeah, Nate Maurer is trying to make it a hot week. He's coming off a win in a different league here in the NASRA Racing Association, but right now he's going to take the 1 to go down to corner number 1. Our race leader in the 971 should have been the clear favorite in this race. Now making it known he is the man to beat here in the series. Our race leader down to 1.
That 48, Robbie Richards. Oh no, big neck code. Gonna take out that 48 out of this one, but we're gonna go back up front because there are no more cautions as the white flag has flown. The 971 is your race leader. The 7 of Clint.
Big run out of Mata. Big run out of Mata on the outside.
Back straight away, got to run. Here comes Maurer, though. He goes high, he goes low. He now tries to block Wade and Mata. You can't block them all. Making a move is Mata's truck. He powers, they make contact. He smacks the wall. Maurer's in the lead. They're racing to the flag. Will, who's it going to be to win at Daytona off turn 4?
Nate Maurer is holding it down, trying to keep Wade out of victory lane, and it will be the 971 of Nate Maurer taking the race number 1 victory here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. And what a win it's got to be for Nathan Maurer.
Wow. A lot of chaos to just wrap around that entire last lap.
And we look at
Okay,
Nathan.
I gotta just catch my breath on that one. Shoot off the virtual pyro, and hey, Hunter, your pick wins.
Yeah, a lot of contact there on that last lap. Everything will be reviewed by race control.
I don't know, guys. You know, Hunter and Will, I'm thinking that I think Maurer, he gets the win. But, I mean, I hate to see what happened to Mata and some other trucks wait as well. But in my opinion, they waited too soon to break out of line, Will, to try to make a run for the leaders. I think that's something that should have happened probably with about 5 laps to go when they come back to the green flag restart, not something at the white flag going to turn number 3.
No, it was a little bit of a soon move for me as well. You know, Mata had a huge run coming into 3 there. Just didn't have it together, though, Wes, as you just touched on there. Didn't have it all organized to make that move on Nathan Maurer. I see as if they were a little bit more together, a little bit more organized, we may have had a run to the finish. But guys, we're talking about a driver that started in the 23rd position here tonight. Didn't really see him in the dual races, didn't really see him in the clash races. He may have ran in those races. We didn't see him. He didn't really perform well. We know he performs well in the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series on Monday nights. Now here tonight, getting the first victory out of the way in race number 1, showing a little bit of greatness, starting 23rd here tonight.
The driver out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, from the Keystone State, Nate Maurer, picking up the win. As Hunter said, he was his pick to win it. He played his cards perfectly. Will, we heard your thought. Hunter, I got to ask you, do you agree with me? Do you think that they just were still unorganized, and when they finally broke apart to try to decide the winner, it was just too little too late?
I don't know. It's really a tough call not being in the driver's seat. If you have the momentum run, you don't want to check up because you might not get that momentum back. Clint saw he had the run. He had the chance. It might have been just the right move, just a little bit of contact that overall just killed their entire run and that front pack. So very hard to say watching from up here, but after all is said and done, Nate Maurer is going to come away with the win. Ted Wade in that second spot and Brian Chu rounding out the podium in your top 3.
After everything we just saw in that final lap, we have a top 3 officially in the books. But as we await the arrival of our top 3 finishers, our podium finishers here tonight, we'll step aside one more time. We'll be right back to interview those top 3 finishers here tonight in the Butt Kicker 200.
Oh boy, what a finish. Holy cow.
Alrighty, race fans, we just saw the conclusion of the Butt Kicker 200, the first race of the season here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. We just saw Nathan Maurer wrap up what was an excellent and exciting race with plenty of 4th of July fireworks. But now we have our top 3 ready and willing to be interviewed, and I believe our newbie up here in the booth, Wesley Allen, you're catching up with our 3rd place finisher, Brian Chu.
I am Brian Chu, driver of course, the number 3 spot when this race concludes for truck number 51. Of course, everything will be rechecked and double-checked and triple-checked by the NASRA officials for the Triple M Pulling Truck Series, especially after that crazy chaos and mayhem going to the 3rd turn of the last lap. But, Brian, somehow you survive it on the podium. 3rd place, got to be a great way to start the point season with a run for a championship. The driver, of course, out of Fort Myers, Florida. You're taking this race, bud.
You know, I just had to hang on. I got caught up, unfortunately, in that first caution tonight. I started last. I feel like a lot of the guys were trying to drop back, and they were going so slow. I'm like, well, if they want me to just pass them all, I'll pass them all. And I think I got in top 20 area, and then I don't know what truck it was. It kind of got in the wall, got me, and I was damaged all night. It took me the first couple stages just to repair the damage. I was not fast. I could not get out. I could not lead. I had to be behind other trucks if I was going to have any speed. So it's kind of one of those things at Daytona. If you just kind of hang in there, and that last caution where there was just carnage everywhere, I kind of jumped from the heck, I don't know, 20th to the top 10, and restarting that bottom line, that last restart, I was just pushing the heck out of Mata in front of me and just seeing what would happen. I knew if you just keep your foot in it, anything could happen. So wasn't really a good truck there at the end, but I'll take the podium. A little luck at Daytona as usual, but we'll take it.
Man, Will, Hunter, and myself were talking about this, Brian. Do you think that maybe the pack just would not, they were, nobody would jump out of line? Do you think that they ran out of time and it was just too little too late to go for it on the 3rd turn of the last corner on the last lap? Or do you think if you could go back and do it again, would you have made some type of an advance to try to hook up with your teammates or your allies or your enemies to try to draft to catch the leader before they came to the white flag?
Well, so I was, Jeff out there, Sickles, tried. I said, hey, if you got an opportunity to get in front of me, I'm going to do whatever I can to push you. My issue was I got such big damage on the front end, I could not lead. So, you know, they wanted me to jump in front of Robbie Richards on the outside line there. I had tested that earlier, and I knew I couldn't do it. I had, repaired all my damage. And once I was leading out of a pack there, the speed was terrible. So I knew that my only shot was to push somebody, and if something happened, I could try to take it. But I just knew if I went up there, I had no chance, just because of the damage I had. So I really was just sticking with it. And I unfortunately, it's kind of one of those things. It was a little frustrating to not be able to have the speed to be able to make a maneuver like that to jump up top, because if I would have had a clean truck, I 100% would have jumped up top. But, I just couldn't do it with the truck I had at the time.
Brian, last question, and segue this into your sponsors, but this has got to be a phenomenal way to start the season with a podium for a run to the for championship. But to get to the championship, got a long way to go, but it'll be here before we know it. You got to go to 18 weeks now, or 19 weeks left before the run to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of just last second added to the team. I'm with the swim team on Mondays, and they kind of called me up last second to fill in, and I really appreciate Jeff Sickles, Justin Lumpkin, Stephen Thomas, and of course Adam Newbert, Blake Lothian. Love those guys over at Sit With It Motorsports. And I'm really appreciative of them, and for them to get me in here, I really do appreciate it. For me to be able to right away start top 3, I love that I can do that for those guys. Some more sponsors I want to thank: Millie's Restaurant Catering there at Daytona, A's Lawn and Landscaping, Darren's Nail Gun Repair, and Roof Co Group. And also want a big shout out to my mom and dad in Fort Myers. We're still kind of recovering from Hurricane Ian a few months back. Love all my family, and hoping for it's going to be a long recovery, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I'll see you down in Florida for a couple of weeks as well, as I have obligations down for Speed Weeks. But when it's all said and done, the Toyota number 51 out of Fort Myers, Florida, Brian Chu will finish third here tonight at Daytona. Will is standing by, I believe, with the second place finisher of the event, and that is Ted Wade to the number 2.
Yeah, speaking with Ted Wade right now, a driver who put forth, I would say, an amazing effort here tonight, was top 5, top 10, flew up the grid, put some pressure on the leaders up there, Ted, but you just didn't have enough to get the job done at the end, as Nathan Mauer in the 971 will beat you to the line to get that race victory. Take us through your race here tonight. This is week number 1 here in this series. Was it what you expected here in this race?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Pretty hard racing there at the beginning. I debated on laying back and staying as back of the pack since that's where I started. And I think I hooked up with Steve in there, and we drove about halfway up through the field, and just so hard to pass without taking people 3 wide and causing any incidents.
Now, we saw you working a lot with Keith Bradley up there in the 29 machine. When you got word that Keith was unfortunately tangled up there, I believe it was interchanged when the drivers headed down pit road and the yellow flag came out. It unfortunately caught up with a lapped car there down the backstretch. Did that change your strategy at all, or were you still locked in on winning this race?
I got a little bit of damage out of one of those incidents there at the end, and it was just enough nose damage where I could not get a run on Nathan. So I just planned on sticking behind him and pushing him, and if I got a big enough run, I was going to take my shot at it.
Well, Ted, you finished second here tonight in week number 1. I just heard Wes mention it to our third place finisher, a very long season after this. What can you take from a podium here tonight that you can apply to the second race of the season?
Well, I'm just part-time here this season. I'm running full-time in Xfinity, so I probably won't be here next week, but, just keep on chugging along and hopefully come back and give me another top 5 or win a race.
Solid finish here tonight through everything, Ted, through all the interchanging parts we had, all the interchanging leaders we had here tonight. You end up second, very consistent inside of that run as well. But Ted, before we let you go, celebrate the second place finish. When I say celebrate, it is a great run here tonight, great way to kick off the season. I'd love to give you that opportunity to shout out anybody that you had watching here tonight or any sponsors that made this race possible for you.
Oh, yeah, man. I'd like to give a shout-out to John Hedrick at Over the Top Designs, everybody at Upfront Motorsports, Dan's Top Notch Heating and Cooling, Blanchard's Towing, Grant Tactical Hydrographic Printing. They just hopped on this year for a sponsor for us. As always, a Bruzy Racewear and Loose Lug Nuts Racing, Nazra, Triple M Pooling, everybody over here. Thanks, guys.
Well, Ted, great run here tonight. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. We'll surely see you here the rest of the week and all the other series that Nazareth puts on, but great finish here tonight at Daytona.
Thanks, guys.
That's Ted Wade in the number 2 machine's going to come home in the number 2 position. But I believe last but not least, Hunter Parsons is catching up with a man who's making me hot up here in the booth. It is hot up here because it's one of the hottest drivers Nazareth has right now. He is catching up with our race winner, Nathan Mauer.
Yeah, it took a triple-digit truck to get the win at the triple-digit 100-lapper at Daytona. Nate Mauer, you have been on a tear on Monday nights. 3 wins in a row. Make this your 4th win in a row in Nazareth. Absolutely dominant performance there at the end. Kind of take us through your race. We didn't really talk about you until about 10-15 to go.
Yeah, so I kind of joined here. Robbie Richards is my teammate in Monday nights. Got new teammates in here, but he invited me to come hang out with him and his guys in his Discord, and I didn't really want to intrude on him, but me and Kyle just seemed to hit it off right away. Kyle Hess, I know he races Monday nights too, and I mean, heck, 90% of the race, we were 18 seconds, 20 seconds back behind the leaders, just waiting on for the other guys to wreck out, because you know how super speedway racing goes. A lot of guys think they can win it, first half of the race, whatever, and then we got so far back before that, which would have been that final green flag pit stop. Me and Kyle didn't know what to do, and I said, let's just stick it out, and hopefully there's a caution before we have to pit and run out of fuel. And caution came out, and we came out P1 and P2, and I was actually just kind of going to push him to the win, just kind of saying thank you for letting me come in come in with his guys here tonight and race with them. But I guess his steering wheel locked up or disconnected or whatever. He hit the wall, and then yeah, we were one of the cleanest trucks. And big shout out to Ted Wade for staying behind me. He did say he had some damage, but I don't know what happened between me and Clint. I honestly didn't look at the replay. I felt like it was major net code. I don't even know. I didn't think I went up. I didn't think he came down, but all of a sudden I got contact somehow. My car went sideways, but just big shout out to Ted for not dumping me. I felt like he could have just plowed me over after that happened, but we're there at the end, and you got to make it to the end of these things to have a chance at winning it.
For sure, you need to be in it to win it. And are we going to see you more every Friday, or is this going to be more of a part-time thing moving throughout the season?
It all depends on what wife and kids will have planned for me over the weekend. So more kids I have, I got to slow down the racing. But all good things come to an end, so I know that this hot streak is going to go fast. It happens to me all the time. I'll get hot for maybe about a month, and then I'll be complete trash for a while. So, hey, we got locked into the playoffs, so I guess I got to at least race the minimum amount of races to make it into the playoffs and see where it goes from there on Friday nights.
For sure. Well, we know you're in the playoffs on Monday nights. Right now, you're locked into the playoffs on Friday nights. Definitely a force to be threatened with here in Nazareth in the Triple M Truck Polo Series. Any final shout outs before we let you go and go on with your night?
Yeah, shout out to everybody at Mission 1. The guys that I race with, I know there's a whole team of them. I don't even know half of them in here. I don't know half the guys in this league on Friday nights. But just want to say thanks to Kyle Hess, Michael McKinnon, and my teammate from Monday Nights, Robbie, for letting me come and join with them. Yeah. So, and shout out to you guys up in the booth Friday nights. I don't know any of you guys other than Will. So thanks all for being here. Thanks for Brady for putting on the show Friday night. And thanks to all the sponsors that make this thing happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Nathan. And hopefully we'll talk to you here again in the future.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend.
Well, guys, that is your top 3 here at the Butt Kicker 250 season opener at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, Wesley, I'll let you take it away with this here tonight. Our newbie up here in the booth. Any final thoughts on the action here tonight?
You know, calling me a newbie, I actually laugh at because
newbie to this broadcast. Let's say.
Thanks, guys, for having me on the NASRA 360 Racing Network. I want to make sure I said that correctly. By the way, big thanks to, of course, Adam Fleeger and everybody behind the scenes with what they did on the production. A phenomenal race. And when it's all said and done, I think it worked out the way that it was going to work out. If I would say we go back and do it again, I just think that they played possum. Nobody jumped out of line, and this is what turned out to be what it was. Is you see the unofficial results scrolling across the screen for the Butt Kicker 250, but I mean, I think a lot of guys are kicking themselves that are in the top 15 because they're thinking, man, if I'd have went with 10, 15 to go, maybe I would have had a shot at it. But you can't go nose to tail single file and then expect to jump out on the last lap and try to win the race and from guts to glory be the hero. Nate Maurer, I think, knew it. He was waiting for everybody to play possum. Hunter Parsons, and in doing so, Will Tiller, he was able to get the win. So much fun working with you guys tonight. Look forward to working with you when I can on the NASRA series. I know I'm not going to be a full-time guy right now at the moment, but when the big boys are at Daytona, Talladega, some of the big races, Charlotte or whatnot, looking forward to working with you guys, and I had fun tonight.
Hunter, any final thoughts about this first week of the season here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series?
Yeah, it was overall a very good race. A lot of green flag racing. Glad we could see that. See some drivers up front battling for a race win. Some new guys up front that we typically don't see throughout the season, but like we keep mentioning, a lot of talent in this field. It's going to be a great 18-plus week season. Excited for Pocono next week. It's going to be, I think, a really good season.
Yeah, as we just watched the conclusion of week number 1 here, the Butt Kicker 200 here in the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. If you have liked what you've seen here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network, we invite you to go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow and subscribe to all the racing action. This series, or this league, is broadcasted almost 7 days a week. We have Xfinity cars, we have Cup cars coming up on Sundays, we have 2 nights that have trucks, so you can get all of your iRacing fix right here at the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. But for myself, William Tiller, for Wesley Outland up here in the booth, and Hunter Parsons, Adam Fleeger has been the man in the van here tonight, manning all those excellent camera angles you saw during tonight's race. We want to wish everybody a great night. A big congratulations for Nathan Maurer for getting that first win out of the way. We'll see you right back here, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, next Friday night for week number 2 with the Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Have a great night.